Chapter 619. 8:20 p.m. Whaletool Luchun Live Broadcasting Room. Nearly 2 years have passed, and today's Luchun Live Broadcasting Room has become a famous signboard in Whaletool. It has the most fans, the highest number of online viewers, the highest number of tips, and other records on the platform. The cooperation between Luchun and Whale TV can also be called a model for star artists to cooperate with new online media. Luchun has gathered a large number of fans and popularity through this online platform, and Whale TV has also obtained countless benefits through Luchun. Last year alone, Whale TV signed more than 10 famous star anchors, which has brought a significant increase in registered users. It can be said to be a win-win situation. Although other platforms have offered Luchun a very high price, Luchun insisted on renewing his contract with Whale TV, and the cooperative relationship between the two sides is very good. In order to retain the big shot Luchun, Whale TV has made a lot of optimization and resources for his live broadcasting room, and even added an additional membership function for Luchun's fans. Tonight, the first episode of the first season of China's Voice will be broadcast live on Zhejiang Satellite TV station. Whale TV has obtained the authorization to broadcast it and started publicity a few days in advance. So at this moment in the live broadcasting room, a large number of Luchun's fans and onlookers have gathered. To watch variety shows on TV, the effect is naturally the best with a big screen TV, and the clarity is also the highest. But today's young people's use of TV has greatly decreased. Even if everyone has a TV at home, many people are still willing to choose to watch through the internet. A live broadcasting platform like Whale TV is different from ordinary video websites. The live broadcasting room is more interactive. Everyone can send barrage comments and tip fishballs to express their support, which is more interesting and entertaining. Therefore, just after 8 o'clock, the number of online viewers in Luchun's exclusive live broadcasting room has exceeded the 2 million mark, and it is still increasing at a rapid rate. It is estimated that it will not be a problem to surpass the record of 3 million. And tonight's live broadcast host of China's Voice is Li Feiyu, who everyone is familiar with and loves. The show is about to start. Is everyone ready for their fishballs? In an instant, the barrage was like a tide, mixed with countless falling fish balls. This kind of scene was very common in Luchun's broadcasting room. Many rich fans didn't care about the 100 times fishball at all. They all released the aircraft carriers one by one. Then, in the next moment, an extremely dazzling interstellar battleship appeared out of thin air, instantly crushing everyone present. With the accompaniment of thousands of fireworks and special effects, it simply blinded countless dog eyes. Super Starship. This was the exclusive reward prop in Luchun's anchor room, the Superstar Ocean Battleship, which cost 10,000 yuan each. Not only did it have the effect of a platform-wide broadcast announcement, but it could also instantly clear the screen, have dazzling special effects, and so on. After this exclusive prop was launched by Whale TV, the number of Super Starship launched in Luchun's anchor room has exceeded 100, which is equivalent to 1 million yuan being rewarded. It must be noted that the Superstar Ocean Battleship is the highest level of special reward prop in Whale TV. Neither the platform nor Luchun will share even a penny of the benefits. It will all be donated to the Chun Fei Charity Fund for the treatment of poor leukemia patients. As soon as the Superstar Ocean Battleship appeared, the onlookers suddenly lost their calm. Tycoon, please support me. F***CK. A Star Ocean battleship has appeared before it even started. I'm going to break the record again tonight. Well, I'm going to support the loving tycoon and hug his thigh. Brother, how do you still lack lackeys? Ha ha ha. Amidst the noise, it was 8:30, and China's Voice began. Everyone's attention was attracted to it. In the midst of the passionate opening song, the carefully decorated Zhejiang Satellite TV station Studio 1 was presented to the eyes of the national audience with a new look. Countless colored stripes fluttered down from the air, and the audience of 1,250 applauded warmly, bringing the atmosphere of the scene to a climax from the beginning. The camera swooped down from top to bottom, and then rotated forward. The 4 mentors sitting on the red swivel chairs became the focus. Then everyone was surprised to find that the 4 mentors actually had their backs to the stage and were facing the audience. Each mentor enjoyed a 3-second close-up, and then the camera focused on the big stage. A host in a blue casual suit, holding a microphone and a digital teleprompter, strode into the spotlight. He was in his 30s, thin and tall with fair skin, wearing a pair of black-rimmed glasses, looking gentle and a confident smile on his face. The host faced the audience and said loudly, "First of all, let's welcome the 4 mentors who decide the students tonight. They are Mentor Chanfei, Mentor Liao Jia, Mentor Shifeng, Mentor Lu Chun." When the host called on a mentor, the mentor stood up and waved to the audience, winning bursts of applause. Tonight, the 4 music mentors are looking for the real voice. They are ready. China's car, China's voice, the world premiere starts now. When he said the last few words, his voice suddenly rose a notch, and it could be said that his voice shook the audience. The audience at the scene responded with warm applause and cheers. The brand title of the first season of China's Voice was won by China Automobile, with a price tag of 27 million yuan. At that time there were many competing brands, but including Coca-Cola, they were all defeated by China Automobile, who were determined to win. When the news came out at that time, it caused a sensation in the industry because China's Voice was a brand new talent show, and in the current situation where talent shows were about to be overdone, China Automobile threw out so much money to support it, which was really surprising. It should be known that Zhidong satellite TV station was not CCTV, and many of CCTV's variety shows did not have such a high title fee. But looking at the inside story through the surface, it was actually understandable. First of all, China Automobile, as the #1 brand of domestic cars, invests hundreds of millions of advertising fees every year, and 27 million was nothing to them. And China's Voice's creator, producer, major shareholder and mentor Lu Chun was himself a star endorser of China Automobile, and the two sides had a good relationship of cooperation. In addition, the name of China's Voice was not bad, and it was not so incomprehensible that China Automobile would not hesitate to pay a high price to win it. Of course, whether this advertising title investment was worth the ticket price, the key still lay in the content of the program itself. China's Voice, with 4 big shot mentors, was able to make a name for itself in the extremely competitive TV variety show, and tonight's premiere was undoubtedly crucial. Chapter 620. My name is Anshin. I'm 23 years old this year. I come from Shueishu Village, Changshan County, Gui Province. At the beginning of the show, a video clip was played. What appeared on the screen was the first contestant in the first episode of the first season of China's Voice. Her name was Anshin, an ordinary-looking girl. I've liked music and singing since I was a child. After graduating from high school, I came to Beijing alone to study music and became a Beijing drifting singer. Later, I went to Shanghai to continue pursuing my music dream. After the first contestant's brief self-introduction, the camera switched back to the live stage. The host held up the microphone in high spirits and said, "China's good car, China's Voice. Welcome to China's good car, China's Voice, sponsored by the leading domestic automobile brand Zhonghua. Drink Pepsi Power mental health products and cheer for China's Voice." The 4 most proud students of this year's China's Voice will embark on the journey of China's automobile music dream. Send a text message to participate in the interaction, and immediately get a 100 yuan coupon from QQ Shopping. Thank QQ Shopping for its strong support for this show. If our students are recognized by 3 or more mentors, they can get a 10,000 yuan music dream fund provided by QQ Shopping. At the same time, thank you to Hangzhou Shangri-La Hotel for providing hotel sponsorship to the mentors of China's Voice. He recited the lines of more than 200 words in one breath without stumbling, and his voice was high-pitched and his expression was impassioned, showing strong and unparalleled lung vitality. The crowd at the scene was shocked, the audience in front of the TV was shocked, and the fans in the live broadcast room were even more shocked. What the F***CK? Did you hear what he said just now? It's amazing. Where did this god come from? I Wang Lao am convinced. If anyone can repeat it completely, I'll give him 10,000 fish balls. I'll also give 10,000. Great God, I admire you. Please accept this little brother's worship. Worshipping. Because it was not a live broadcast, the show was recorded a few days ago, so when it was broadcast by Zhidong satellite TV in the evening, Lu Chun and Chanfei watched it in the hotel room. At the same time, Lu Chun logged into his own anchor room with his laptop, but he used a sock puppet to dive in, and then watched the fans happy and noisy inside, feeling very good. He could not help but smile when he saw the praises and admiration directed at the host on the live screen. Chen Feier, who was sitting next to him, curiously poked his head over and saw the crazy number of bullet comments on the screen. He also smiled. This host Tian Tian really made the right choice. The audience really likes her. The host of the first season of The Voice of China was called Kai Jia. He was not from Zhidong TV station, but an anchor of a music program at Hangzhou Traffic Radio Station. Back then, when Lu Chen came up with the proposal for China's Voice, he had a special requirement for the host, which was to have a good lung capacity. They must be able to quickly recite long lines with great proficiency. That request actually stemmed from his memories in the dream world. It was the source of inspiration for The Voice of China, which was also one of the highlights of the show. As such, he purposely made use of it. For this request, Tian Tian interviewed more than a dozen professional hosts and broadcasters and picked out Kai Jia. On the other hand, such a request was also based on considerations of profit, as The Voice of China had quite a number of advertising sponsors. That 200-word line included 4 major brands. Through the share of advertising revenue, Star Factory had basically earned back the initial investment. As for the realization of profits, it would still depend on the ratings of the show. Let us welcome our first contestant. The camera cut to the backstage. An ex-scion wearing a long-sleeved shirt and jeans walked up the stairs, followed by the camera to the stage, and took the microphone from the host, Kai Jia. She pursed her lips, a hint of nervousness in her eyes. There was no reason for an ex-scion not to be nervous. She was encouraged by her best friend to participate in the audition for The Voice of China, and was lucky enough to qualify for the official show. However, she never expected to be chosen as the first contestant. At that moment, her best friend was watching her from the backstage area, while the 4 judges were in front. An ex-scion knew very well that this was a performance that would determine her fate. If she failed and was eliminated, she would really have to consider giving up, find a long-term job, and then find someone to marry. That was not the ending that an ex-scion hoped for. She was very ordinary, so ordinary that no one would give her a second look if she walked in the crowd. However, who said that ordinary people could not have their own dreams? An ex-scion had a dream. Her dream was big and beautiful. The nervousness and confusion in her eyes turned into determination. She turned her head and gave a thumbs up to the sound engineer backstage, indicating that she was ready. The sound engineer nodded and pressed the play button for the accompaniment. The next moment, the prelude sounded. The camera cut to the audience. Many of the audience members had a knowing smile on their faces, as they were very familiar with the prelude melody, Woman Flower by Chen Feier. This song, written and composed by Lu Chen, could be said to be a classic in Chen Feier's career as a singer, a turning point. It allowed Chen Feier to successfully transform from a queen of sweet songs to a queen of love songs, establishing her unshakable position in the Chinese music industry. The album of the same name of Woman Flower had already sold more than 5 million copies, breaking the record of the Chinese pop music industry in the past 10 years. It had achieved very good results in Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan, and even spread to several countries in Southeast Asia. Woman Flower was very popular, and it was a must-listen for women in KTV. That was why an ex-scion had chosen Woman Flower as the song of the competition, which undoubtedly required a lot of courage and confidence. It was expected that she could sing well, but it was not easy for her to win the approval of the 4 judges. I have a flower planted in my heart waiting to bloom faintly. Zhao Zhao and Mumu. I eagerly wait for those who are willing to come to my dream. Woman Flower swaying in the world of mortals, Woman Flower swaying gently with the wind. When an ex-scion's voice sounded, the camera turned from her to the 4 judges, who were standing with their backs to the stage. At this moment, even if there was no explanation in the program, the audience could understand that the judges could only listen to the sound but not see the people. They made the decision based on the singing. This was very different from the previous talent shows of the same type, which made the audience feel very fresh and curious, wondering what would happen next, or what was waiting for an ex-scion. Chapter 621. When Anqin sang the first line of the lyrics, Lu Chen's expression changed, and this contestant's performance of Woman Flower also made him reveal a hint of surprise. Yes, it was a surprise. Anqin's singing skills were not particularly good, but her voice was quite unique, with a slightly hoarse magnetic lingering. She sang Woman Flower in a mellow and moving way, with a very different charm from the original singer, but it did not damage the charm of the work. It was also a rare enjoyment for the ears of the listeners. The most important thing was that Anshin blended her own emotions into the singing. The same song sung by the same person had exactly the same tone and melody, but it was easy for the audience to hear whether or not there was any emotion injected into it. As the saying goes, words are the voice of the heart, and songs are to sing. If singing without emotion, no matter how skilled and unique the voice is, it will give people a cold feeling. Many singers don't understand the mystery, or they don't care about it, and as a result, they can never improve themselves. Anshin didn't have any fame, but her songs had won the hearts of the four mentors. Liao Jia turned his head and said to Chen Feier with a smile, "I think she sings better than you." Chen Feier did not answer. She suddenly stretched out her right hand and pressed the red button in front of the swivel chair heavily. Bang! With a shocking special effects sound, the swivel chair Chen Feier was sitting on rotated quickly. At the same time, four bright LED light belts lit up from under her mentor's chair to the stage. The audience suddenly burst into thunderous applause, and several of the audience even stood up with excitement. Lu Chun and Shifeng looked at each other and smiled. Shifeng raised her hand and hesitated to take a picture immediately. The camera was firmly aimed at her. "I have a flower, the fragrance of the flowers is all over the branches. Who will sincerely look for the traces of the fragrance? The flower doesn't bloom for long. Ah, if it can be plucked, women are like flowers in a dream." When Anshin finished singing these two paragraphs, Shifeng no longer hesitated and pressed the button hard. And almost at the same time, Lu Chun also pressed the button. The three mentors turned around. In the #1 studio of Zhejiang Satellite TV station, the audience of 1,250 applauded and cheered for Anshin's wonderful singing. At the same time, he applauded the instructors for turning around. At this time, those who were watching the show on their televisions, computers, or on their phones or tablets should have understood the first rule of the blind selection for the coaches of China's voice. That was to move people with songs and win with sound. Anshin's looks were average. She wasn't tall, nor was she slender. She didn't have the looks or the figure. Someone like her wouldn't be able to make it into the entertainment industry, unless they had a strong background or power. She was just an ordinary person. But here on the stage of China's voice, none of that mattered. That was because the four coaches could not even see the contestants from the start. Even if the contestants were beautiful or shockingly handsome, it did not mean anything to them. Here it was all about strength. Whoever was stronger would be able to make the big shot teacher turn around. Therefore, for the majority of the viewers who were just ordinary people, the rules of the Voice of China made them feel the sincerity of the program. No matter how ordinary they were, they still had the chance to realize their dreams. Just like that, Anshin won the approval of the three mentors. No, there were four of them. Liao Jia also pressed the red button that represented her choice. The four mentors all turned around for her. At that moment, Anshin, who was standing on the stage, was undoubtedly the focus of the entire world. The corner of her eyes sparkled. She relied on her strong willpower to not let herself cry out on the spot and finished singing the last line of the song. "Women are like flowers, flowers are like dream." Her voice lingered in the air. Anshin put down the microphone. Her eyes were filled with tears, and she had a look of disbelief. She had already memorized the rules of China's voice. She knew that if Lu Chen and the other three mentors all turned around, it would not only mean that she could choose any big shot as a mentor, it would also mean that she had received the highest level of approval. This was something she had never dreamed of before joining the show. Now that her dream had come true, it was even better. Chen Feier stood up. With a smile on her face, she clapped her hands hard. Under her lead, the live audience stood up and applauded in unison. Such a scene could really give anyone goosebumps, their blood rushing from their chests to their faces. Thank you, thank you." Anshin was sobbing uncontrollably. Her legs were trembling slightly. When she sang in bars in the past, she had received praises and encouragement from the customers. However, that was nothing compared to this scene. She was at a loss. Chen Feier sat back down. Lu Chun raised his hand to signal for everyone to quiet down. He then asked gently, "Hello, can you introduce yourself?" Anshin hurriedly wiped away her tears, raised the microphone and answered, My name is Anshin. After a simple self-introduction, the four mentors began to evaluate, or rather, compete with each other. Chunfei was the first to say, "You sang very well. This uncle here is a better rapper than me. I agree with him very much." She pointed to Liao Jia, who was sitting next to her. Liao Jia was embarrassed. "Uncle, am I that old?" Many in the audience could not help but applaud Chunfei's magnanimity. Anshin could not help but burst into laughter. Chunfei asked, "Why did you choose this song?" Anshin answered, "Because I like this song very much. I'm also a loyal fan of yours." Chunfei smiled. "If that's the case, then you can join my team. I like your voice, and I hope your voice can stay on this stage forever." Before Anshin could answer, Liao Jia interrupted. "Then let me say something. In my opinion, when choosing a mentor, you should choose an experienced senior." "Look, I am a senior." The audience burst into laughter again. No one had expected Liao Jia to have such a humorous side. The audience in front of the TV was amused. They felt this show was much more interesting than they had imagined. It turned out that the mentors would compete with each other for the students. This was completely different from the previous shows. The former judges were in charge of judging and scoring. This made many people think of Anshin. If they were the ones standing on the stage, how would they choose? Chunfei, Liao Jia, Shifeng and Lu Chan, all of whom were big shots, were chosen by all four of them, but it was really too difficult and tangled to choose one. Choosing one meant giving up the other three. Who knew if they had made the right choice? Who knew if they could make it to the end? It was too difficult to choose. Chapter 622. In Lu Chen's studio, Whale TV. Although The Voice of China had only been on air for about 10 minutes, more than 3 million viewers had already flooded into the studio, setting a new record for the number of viewers in the same studio. Fortunately, Whale TV had updated its server a long time ago and increased its bandwidth. So, despite the countless bullet screen comments, the stability of the platform system was not affected. Everyone was in a heated discussion. "She sang really well. She's a good singer. All four mentors have turned around. Of course she sang well. She's no worse than Chunfei. I like songs very much, but she's not pretty. This program doesn't care about looks. Otherwise, the chairs would have been turned for nothing. I think it's fair. This is so interesting. I wonder which mentor Anshin will choose. I think it should be Chunfei. She said she's a fan of Chunfei." "Not necessarily." Finally, it was Lu Chen's turn. Lu Chen asked straightforwardly, "Anshin, do you know who wrote the song you just sang?" Was there a need to ask that question? Anshin was also stunned. Then she replied, "Yes, it was written by you, Mr. Lu Chen." Lu Chen smiled and said, "That's right. Do you want me to write a song for you too?" This time Anshin was really stunned, because she had no idea whether Lu Chen was serious or just joking for the effect of the program. Originally, Anshin had decided to choose Chunfei as her mentor, because she was a fan of Chunfei. Moreover, she was a woman and it was easy to get along with her. Their singing styles were also similar. Liao Jia was not in her consideration at all. But now the offer offered by Lu Chen was too tempting. In the entire Chinese music industry, everyone knew that Lu Chen was the most talented singer. Some even thought that he was the most outstanding singer in the past decade. His works were rich and of high quality. Not only did he compose songs for himself, but he also wrote songs for others. Every song he wrote was a hit, so even though the asking price was as high as $1 million, there were still countless people scrambling for it. But now that Lu Chen had personally made a move, it was really not bad. He did not lack money at all. Although Anshin was a singer at the bottom of the industry, she had a good understanding of Lu Chen, who was also from the bottom of the industry. Therefore, she understood how important this promise was. But is this true? Anshin couldn't believe that such a great opportunity would fall into her lap, so she was stunned. After all, it was just a talent show. Lu Chen didn't sound very serious when he said it. Maybe he was just joking. At this moment, an Xian's heart was in a dilemma that could not be described with words. Some of the audience applauded, some laughed, and some cheered. Chunfei turned around and said coquettishly, "You're cheating." Liao Jia agreed. No, we have to make a new rule. That is, Lu Chen cannot use his works to tempt students. Otherwise, he will be stripped of his qualifications as a teacher. Everyone laughed. They knew that Liao Jia was joking, but it was really interesting. Shifeng grinned. I support Feier and brother Liao. Lu Chun spread out his hands helplessly. How is this cheating? This is fair competition. You should know that we had the right to choose just now, and now Anshin has the right to choose. In Lu Chen's studio on Whale TV, the audience was very happy. They were waiting for a good show. Ha ha ha. I suddenly find that Chen is so bad. Oh my god, Lu Chun wrote the song in person. Who can resist such a condition? Cheating. This is blatant cheating. If it were me, I would definitely choose Lu Chun. There's nothing to say. This is going to be a good show. I like it. The next moment, the camera pointed at Anshin again. The close-up of her hesitant expression was clearly displayed to all the audience. The host Kai Jie took a step forward, bowed his head and asked Anshin. So what is your choice? It was time to make a choice, and she could no longer hesitate. Anshin gritted her teeth and seemed to have made an extremely difficult decision in her heart, and then said, I choose. The advertisement was inserted. What the F***ck? At this moment, countless viewers all over the country cursed at the same time. Isn't this advertisement inserted a bit too strong? Whale TV's studio was in an uproar. What the F***ck is this Zhudong satellite TV? Can't I watch the show happily? I curse this company to close down tomorrow. Close down +1. You cut it off at the critical moment, it's really worrying. Change the channel, I'm not watching it anymore. First of all, the object of everyone's scolding was Zhudong satellite TV, which was greedy for money and shameless, followed by the advertiser who inserted the broadcast. Meanwhile, the real culprit was beaming from ear to ear in the broadcasting room of the TV station. Tonight, Tian was squatting in the Zhudong satellite TV building, paying attention to the ratings of The Voice of China, in real time. She herself came from the TV station, and her family had connections, so entering and exiting the TV station was almost the same as her own home, which was very convenient. The premiere of The Voice of China, in the evening, was too important for Tian. For this show, she had put in countless effort, and also built up a lot of relationships. Although the creative copywriting of the show came from Lu Chun, and several mentors were also settled by Lu Chun, the organization, recording, post-production, and broadcasting of the show could not be operated without her. It would be fine if she succeeded, but if she failed, she would probably not be able to get up for a long time, and the Star Factory, which had been established for more than half a year, could also collapse. Therefore, in the first minute of the broadcast of The Voice of China, Tian stared at the real-time ratings data transmitted over. This was a privilege within the TV station. If ordinary people wanted to know the ratings of a program or TV series, they usually had to wait until the next day to find it on the public information on the internet. The Voice of China had a very good start, with the ratings reaching 1.7% at 8:30. The competition in the TV market was extremely fierce, with all kinds of variety shows emerging one after another. The audience had long been tired of all kinds of talent shows. It was really difficult for a new reality TV show to win high ratings. Breaking 1% at the beginning of the broadcast was already rare, and a start worthy of celebration. However, Tian was indifferent to this data. The Voice of China had been preparing for such a long time, invested a lot in advertising and publicity, and the TV station was very supportive. Coupled with the popularity of the four mentors, without such data, it would be a failure, so it was not considered a success. But 10 minutes later, when the first commercial break appeared, her expression finally changed. Chapter 623. At present, the ratings of domestic TV programs were independently completed by New Vision Company, a subsidiary of the State Administration of Radio, Film and Television, and belonged to a state-owned third-party authority. If ordinary media or audiences wanted to know the ratings of a TV series or variety show broadcast on the same day, they could log on to the official website of New Vision Company the next day to see it. New Vision Company's official website also had a very detailed ranking, and it was clear at a glance which was higher and lower. However, TV stations were not like this. All state-owned TV stations in China could obtain real-time ratings data from New Vision Company through specialized channels. Because New Vision Company relied on the powerful resources of the SARFT to collect data from digital TV terminal users and formal online live broadcasting platforms in real time for summary. Although there was an inevitable delay, its authority was unquestionable. Zhidong Satellite TV Station certainly had a channel to connect to New Vision Company. The reason why Tian wanted to stay in the TV station was to be able to get this important data as soon as possible. China's Voice's opening was 1.7%. After 12 minutes of broadcasting, the ratings suddenly jumped to 1.78%, a surge of 0.71%. If the high opening of more than 1% was still within Tian's expectations, such a fierce increase made her heart almost jump out of her chest, and her face turned red. As a person in the industry, Tian knew very well what this meant. This was a precursor to the show's popularity. Today's TV audience was no longer comparable to the past in terms of number. In the past, when there was no internet, the most important way for people to pass time was to watch TV. Therefore, many excellent TV series or programs could often achieve extremely high ratings, often in the hundreds, and constantly emerging ratings myths. Now, with the advent of the technological era, entertainment methods have diversified and multipolar. Young people are more enthusiastic about online entertainment. There are fewer and fewer people who are willing to sit in front of the TV to watch TV, and the requirements are getting higher and higher. The competition of hundreds of TV stations has already turned the TV market into a Red Sea. Correspondingly, whether it was TV series or variety shows, the ratings could no longer create the previous data. Many variety shows could be regarded as branded programs with an average rating of 0.5%. The remote control was in the hands of the audience, and the audience was very impatient now. If a new program did not attract them at the beginning, they only needed to gently press the remote control in their hands, and then there would be hundreds of other choices. The opening was the most critical, just like a new novel. If the opening was not attractive, the readers would not buy it. Hence, when the viewership ratings of China's Voice drew a beautiful positive line across the screen, how could Tian not be excited? Of course, she knew that it would be too early to celebrate their victory. At the very least, they would have to wait until the end of the show and the dust had settled before they could truly see the results. Therefore, she forced herself not to lose her composure on the spot. However, her former colleagues in the broadcasting room did not have so many scruples and congratulated Tian one after another. Director Tian, congratulations! It's definitely going to be an explosive result. I reckon that the first episode of tonight's episode will break 2%. Breaking 2 won't be a problem for sure. Even breaking 3 is possible. Tianjia, you must treat us. Everyone was also sincerely happy for Tian. Although the latter had long since left Zhidong Satellite TV, she had always had a good relationship with people in the station. A few days ago, she hosted a banquet at the Shangri-La Hotel to entertain a group of colleagues. In addition, China's Voice's popularity was also of great benefit to Zhidong Satellite TV Station and everyone. The TV station's annual advertising performance was related to everyone's year-end bonus. Although China's Voice had just started and it was indeed too early to congratulate them, it was definitely right to ask for a good compliment first. That's right, Tian is going to treat us. At this moment, the door of the broadcasting room was pushed open, and a middle-aged man strode in with his head held high. Director Gao. Seeing the person, everyone got up one after another. Even Tian was no exception. This middle-aged man was Gao Guangxi, the director of Zhidong Satellite TV Station. He was a well-known young and vigorous figure in the SARFT system. He had been transferred to Zhidong Satellite TV Station as the director for less than 2 years, but he had carried out a drastic reform of the TV station, and his prestige in the station was quite high. It was under Gao Guangxi's leadership that Zhidong Satellite TV Station attacked everywhere in terms of self-produced dramas and variety shows, gradually increasing the influence of Zhidong Satellite TV in the industry and greatly increasing its advertising income. The cooperation between Zhidong Satellite TV Station and Star Factory Media was also facilitated by Gao Guangxi. Therefore, even Tian, who was as reserved and delicate as a princess, was very well behaved in front of Gao Guangxi, and she was indeed the latter's junior. Gao Guangxi raised his hand with a smile and said, "Everyone sit down and continue working. Don't worry about me." Although that was what they said, how many of them could really sit still? Tian asked curiously. "Director, why are you here?" Gao Guangxi smiled and said, "Why can't I come? I'm here to see the ratings of this show." Tian Tian said proudly. I didn't let you down, did I? Gao Guangxi said. Don't be happy too early. The start is good, but the key is whether you can hold on. Tian Tian nodded obediently, looking like an honest child. While the two were talking, the data on the screen was still increasing slightly. This was very rare. It should be known that it was a commercial break. Usually, there would be a temporary decline in the ratings during the commercial break, because there would always be impatient TV viewers who would change the channel at this time. Such a scene made Gao Guangxi a little surprised. At the beginning, he strongly advocated cooperation with Star Factory Media and introduced The Voice of China by purchasing the broadcasting and publishing rights, and rejected the self-produced reality talent show plan proposed by others. On the one hand, it was to deepen the reform process of the TV station, and on the other hand, it was because he was optimistic about this cooperation. In addition, there was also the relationship of Tian Tian's family. However, Gao Guangxi did not expect that the ratings of The Voice of China would be so outstanding. It was completely a dark horse, which made him feel that he had made a mistake in the previous cooperation negotiations. It should be known that the contract between the two parties was based on the ratings. The higher the ratings, the more benefits Zhejiang Satellite TV station had to give up. But this idea only flashed in his mind and disappeared in an instant. The higher the ratings of The Voice of China, the greater the advertising income of Zhejiang Satellite TV, and the influence brought by it could not be measured by direct benefits. This was a win-win cooperation. Just as Gao Guangxi was thinking about it, the advertisement on the big screen ended, and the picture returned to the show. Chapter 624. I choose. The scene in front of the advertisement was replayed again, and Anxin's eyes were fixed on Chanfei. Mentor Chanfei. Ah! The audience was in an uproar, because no one expected that Anxin would still insist on choosing Chanfei when Lu Chan showed his killer move, giving up such an opportunity that most singers dream of. Chanfei was also surprised, and then immediately showed a happy smile. She stood up and walked to the stage, giving Anxin a big hug and said, Welcome to my team. Liao Jia laughed and pointed at Lu Chan, taking pleasure in his misfortune. You deserve this day, kid. Shi Fang covered her mouth and laughed, probably feeling that it was very interesting. Lu Chan spread out his hands and made a helpless expression of a loser, but to say that he was angry or lost, there was nothing. On the contrary, he quite appreciated this contestant. Lu Chan was very clear about the power of his proposal. In the face of the temptation he offered, Anxin was able to keep her heart, which showed that her willpower was very strong, and she had her own beliefs and determination. This kind of person would usually be able to go further. Anxin's problem was that her own physical conditions were not good, and it was not easy to win the recognition of fans. But for singers, if the idol route was not possible, it was also possible to go the strength route. Of course, this did not mean that Lu Chan decided to cultivate Anxin well, because the first season of The Voice of China had just begun, and there might be more outstanding talents later. In the Lu Chen's broadcasting room of WellTV, the online fans were overjoyed and sent barrage comments to complain. This girl has character. Haha, this is very embarrassing. I didn't expect that she would choose Chanfei. I don't cry in the morning, stand up and masturbate. This girl is really 6, give her a fishball tip. I feel that she is also better with Chanfei. It's a pity that a piece of work was wasted. It's so interesting. On the other side, in the director's room of Zhejiang Satellite TV, the atmosphere was equally warm. After Anxin made her choice, the ratings rose again and were about to reach the 2% mark. And this was just the beginning of the show. From 8:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. A total of 2 hours including commercials. The first episode of the first season of The Voice of China premiered on Zhejiang Satellite TV on May 19th. In the first episode, a total of 5 contestants were recognized by the mentors and became official students. In the first episode, a total of 5 contestants were recognized by the mentors and became official students. That night, the average viewership rating was 2.26%, with the highest viewership rating exceeding 2.50%. On the second day on New Channel's official website, China's Voice took the top spot in the variety show ratings, beating the second place by a whole percentage point. Most importantly, in blogs, forums, The Voice of China was full. In a world where the audience was already tired of watching reality TV shows, China's Voice's unique rules brought a sense of freshness to the audience, which was undoubtedly one of the reasons for its success. The blind selection of mentors made people feel that it was fair. Contestants relied on their abilities and nothing else to succeed. Even the most ordinary person, as long as he or she had talent in singing, would have the opportunity to become an official student and stand on the stage to choose a famous mentor. This was something that didn't exist in previous talent shows. In previous talent shows, it was the judges who chose the contestants. There had never been a situation where the contestants chose their mentors. Both sides stood on equal footing and respected each other. Everyone's feelings were naturally very different. A logo with a microphone raised high, for bright red swivel chairs, and an equally bright red button. Together with the four famous coaches, they formed the unique and distinct logo of China's Top Voice, imprinted in every viewer's memory. As the show became popular, the contestants who performed well in the first episode also gained fame, especially in Wuxia. Her song Woman Flower amazed the audience and made all four teachers turn around. She was very popular. Anxin's personal post bar was quickly established, and her blog fans soared from the original 100 plus to 100,000 plus. Even on QQ Music, her cover of Woman Flower appeared on the download list. QQ Music has obtained the authorization of China's Voice, and all the student songs can be found on it. As a result, Anxin's life changed dramatically. Many agents came to her, and some companies even wanted to sign a contract with her. She had just become a student. At the same time, the host of China's Top Voice, Jia, also became popular. Jia was originally an anchor at a radio station in Hangzhou, and only had a little fame in the local area. However, his appearance in China's Top Voice left a deep impression on the audience all over the country, especially when he read out the opening advertising slogan of more than 200 words in one breath. It was made into a GIF and widely circulated on the internet, making many netizens exclaim that he was a god. Of course, the biggest beneficiary was still Zhidong satellite TV station. With an average rating of 2.26%, it became the biggest winner of all the talent shows this year, overshadowing Shonan TV, which claimed to be the strongest variety show. On May 26, China's Top Voice continued to broadcast its second episode. The ratings continued to rise, and the highest rating broke through the 3% mark without any suspense, with an average of 2.89%. It was no longer a dark horse but a champion. After 2 episodes, the success of China's Top Voice was indisputable. Star Factory became a well-known media company in the circle in one fell swoop, and the people seeking cooperation broke through the threshold. On Wave's blog, the fans of China's Top Voice easily broke through 5 million. It also had a wonderful performance on QQ Video and QQ Music, and became popular in all aspects. On June 2nd, the third episode of China's Top Voice was broadcasted, with an average rating of more than 3%, reaching the standard of a phenomenal variety show, and its momentum was unparalleled. As the creative provider and production participant of this live-action singing talent show, Lu Chun was busy recording China's Top Voice, and at the same time, he made the final changes to the script of You from the Star. He had revised the script of this TV series many times, which took more than half a year. Compared to the original work in the dream world, there were great changes, and the characters and plot were much fuller. So now it had finally reached the state of completion and could be officially filmed at any time. Similarly, in Beijing, Chimfei Media and the partners of You from the Star were also ready. Everything was ready, and they were just waiting for the return of the 2 male and female leads, Lu Chun and Chunfe. Chapter 625. With the ratings of China's Good Voice soaring, the recording work was naturally in full swing. So Lu Chun and Chen Fei could not return to Beijing for the time being to devote themselves to the shooting of You from the Star. However, there was one thing that made Lu Chun have to take time to deal with it. That was, QQ Company took a fancy to Happy Network and intended to invest in the acquisition. QQ was one of the few internet giants in China. This company, established in 1997, was one of the world's largest integrated internet service providers and one of the internet companies with the largest number of users. In 2005, QQ was listed in Hong Kong and became one of the constituent stocks of Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index. Its current market value exceeded $180 billion US. Its business involves social and communication services QQ and Feixin, social network platform QQ Space, QQ Games QQ Game Platform, Portal QQ Network, QQ News Client and online video services QQ Video, Music and so on. In 20 years, QQ has built itself into a real giant enterprise. The wide range of business involved can be said to have deeply affected the modern Chinese language area. Strictly speaking, it was not that QQ company took a fancy to Happy Network, but QQ Games, a subsidiary of QQ, took a fancy to the currently popular Happy Farm. For such a situation, Lu Chun had expected it. The number of registered members of Happy Farm has already exceeded 100 million, which has formed a huge user market, which contains great benefits. For the industry, Happy Farm was also a miracle. It was just a small web/mobile game. No matter how beautifully it was made, it did not require too much investment to complete. It was so small that any computer and mobile phone could play it very smoothly. However, the popularity that Happy Farm gathered in a short period of time was terrifying. It has become a craze for all people to steal vegetables. Usually in the streets, in buses, on subways, in cafes, men and women, old and young, whether it was white-collar workers or teachers and students, they could all be seen playing with their mobile phones. Happy Farm could be said to be extremely popular, and its development and operation company was a small company that had just been established for less than half a year. It was unknown in the industry. How could it not attract the covetous eyes of others? However, Happy Network's copyright protection was extremely perfect. Not to mention in China, they had even registered copyrights overseas. In addition, in order to prevent others from imitating, they had also registered the copyrights of games with similar styles and the same content, such as Happy Fishing Ground, Happy Ranch, and so on. Most importantly, although the CEO of Happy Network was a university student who had just graduated and had no power or influence, its largest shareholder was not an ordinary person. Some outside tricks would not work so well. Therefore, after a period of observation, QQ Company took the lead in jumping out and directly issued a tentative acquisition intention to Happy Entertainment. For such a big event, how could Gao He dare to make his own decision? So he contacted Lu Chun for the first time. Fortunately, Lu Chun has been recording China's Voice in Hangzhou these days. It took less than half an hour to go from the Shangri-La Hotel to the new Binjiang IT Industrial Park, where Happy Entertainment was located. When going to Happy Entertainment, Lu Chun also brought Chun Fei. Although Chun Fei did not have any investment shares in Happy Entertainment, with the current relationship between the two, there was no difference whether he had shares or not. When Lu Chun arrived, Gao He and Wang Xiaoling were already waiting for him at the entrance of the company. The two thought that they would only see Lu Chun himself. They didn't expect that Lu Chun would be accompanied by a beautiful woman. Although Chun Fei was wearing big sunglasses, they still recognized her at a glance. China's Voice was broadcast on Zhejiang satellite TV station and dominated the ratings list. At present, it has made several students and a host popular. At the same time, it also brought the popularity of the four mentors to a new level in China. Especially Liao Jia and Shifang. The two have been quite quiet in recent years and have not produced any new works. Their influence among young people has actually been declining. As soon as China's Voice was released, Liao Jia and Shifang definitely benefited a lot. The most direct manifestation was that many big brands took the initiative to seek advertising endorsement cooperation. As for Lu Chun and Chun Fei, there was no need to mention. The two were already very popular, and now they were like flowers in brocade, cooking oil on fire. Their popularity simply overshadowed the entertainment industry. Wang Xiaoling was originally a fan of Chun Fei. The last time Lu Chun came to Happy Entertainment, she complained that Lu Chun did not bring his girlfriend. This time her wish was finally fulfilled. Speaking of which, Lu Chun has been in Hangzhou for some time, but because he was very busy with his own work and Gao He was also very busy, the two only talked on the phone a few times and met in the same city until today. Lu Chun first introduced Chun Fei to Gao He and Wang Xiaoling. Chun Fei was very generous and directly called them big brother and sister-in-law, which made both of them very flattered. When they arrived at the company, it was another scene. Happy Entertainment's development momentum was too rapid. Recently, they have recruited a lot of professionals and purchased a lot of new equipment. The number of employees was close to 100. Although the office next door was rented, it still seemed very crowded. It was the first time for many of the new employees to see Lu Chan. In addition, with Chan Fei accompanying them, they surrounded the two like stars surrounding the moon to watch the fun. Everyone was extremely excited and all smiles were on their faces. Lu Chan did not put on any airs of a chairman. He encouraged the employees in the office area and took a lot of group photos. Big morale was boosted. After the excitement, everyone sat down to get down to business. Wang Xiaoling first took out a financial statement and gave it to Lu Chan. She smiled and said, "Please review it first, Chairman." Since the establishment of Happy Entertainment, the company's monthly financial expenditure has been sent to Lu Chan. However, Lu Chan never pointed fingers in this regard. He trusted the boss's character and delegated power without reservation. Therefore, Lu Chan put the thick report aside and smiled. "Just tell me how much money we made." It sounded like a joke, but it just showed Lu Chen's trust. Wang Xiaoling and Gao He looked at each other. The latter coughed and said, "This month, Happy Entertainment's revenue will definitely exceed 100 million. Although he tried to make his expression look calm and serious, he could not hide the joy and pride in his eyes. It was absolutely a myth for a small game that had been on the market for less than 2 months to have a revenue of more than 100 million. Moreover, Happy Entertainment's recharge income accounted for the majority of the total revenue. The profit distributed to the channel was not much. More than 100 million in revenue was very extraordinary. Chapter 626. In fact, last month, that is in May, the prop sales revenue of Happy Farm has exceeded 50 million. The net profit was not only enough to offset all the early investment of Happy Entertainment, but also achieved a large profit. This simple little game had a kind of magic that made people addicted to it. The user base was extremely high, and the user base was very wide. There were old men and women in their 70s and 80s, as well as children who were only a few years old playing. Although the props in the prop store in Happy Farm are very cheap, most of them are 1 or 2 yuan or even a few cents, and from time to time there will be a big gift for topping up, but there are too many users and the benefits generated are very amazing. In the eyes of big crocodiles, it's normal. A few days ago, an investment manager of QQ Games flew over from the deep sea. Gao He said, "He made an offer to us." Lu Chen asked, "What conditions did they offer?" Gao He replied, "There are 2 plans for QQ Games. One is to acquire 90% of Happy Entertainment shares for 200 million, and the other is to acquire Happy Farm for 180 million. Boss Gao's voice was a little erratic. When he and Wang Xiaoling gritted their teeth and mobilized their family to take out their savings to invest in the establishment of Happy Entertainment, they never thought that there would be such a day. It was really like a dream. The initial investment of Happy Entertainment was 5 million, and later, Lu Chen increased the investment, but it did not exceed 10 million. Even if the publicity investment of Happy Farm was added, it would not exceed 15 million at most. But now, Lu Chen's shares alone are worth 200 million, and selling them will be more than 10 times the investment. The speed of making money is faster than robbing a bank. His and Wang Xiaoling's shares are worth 20 million. How long has it been? It hasn't even been a year. QQ knows that Happy Entertainment has a major shareholder, Lu Chan, and can afford to burn money. It is unlikely that they need external investment to dilute their shares, so they simply proposed a large acquisition and wanted to directly knock out Lu Chan. Gao He really felt a little dizzy. Seeing Gao He's confused look, Wang Xiaoling pinched him and said, "Look at you. Now our monthly income is more than 100 million yuan. You want to buy Happy Farm with 170 million yuan? Dream on." Happy Entertainment definitely wouldn't be sold. When Lu Chan first started the company, he said that he wanted to make Happy Entertainment a top-tier company in China to serve his big IP plan. But Happy Farm could be sold. For this project, Lu Chen's original plan was to make a quick buck and invest the money he earned back into the company. What he really wanted to do was to make online games, large-scale games. But now that Happy Farm's income was so high, Wang Xiaoling really couldn't bear to sell it. This was like a hen that laid golden eggs. If she sold it, wouldn't she be killing the goose that laid the golden eggs? Even if he were to sell it, it would not be 170 million. He was trying to get rid of a beggar. Lu Chan laughed. Sister-in-law is right. They are dreaming if they want to buy Happy Farm For 170 million. Gao He scratched his head. How much do you want to sell it for? Lu Chan said lightly. At least 300 or 400 million yuan. He knew very well that although a game like Happy Farm could become popular in a short period of time, its vitality would not last too long. There was no way to compare with mainstream online games. After a while it would naturally stop. Of course it was impossible to buy it cheaply. This month's income was more than 100 million yuan. Even if it could only be popular for a few months it would be enough. How much was the investment? To be honest, if it weren't for QQ Company, Lu Chan might not be willing to sell it. Since his debut, Lu Chan has always had a very good cooperative relationship with QQ. His digital album was released in QQ Music, the network premiere of 2 TV series were broadcast in QQ Video, and Happy Farm also relied on a large number of QQ members. Lu Chan was very willing to maintain this cooperative relationship, so it was completely acceptable to sell Happy Farm to QQ Games, as long as the price was reasonable. Chun Fair listened by the side, feeling very shocked in her heart. She knew that Happy Farm invested by Lu Chan was very popular, but she didn't expect it to be so popular that it could be sold for hundreds of millions of yuan. Of course Chunfa has seen money. In the circle, she is very famous for being good at investing, especially in real estate investment, which has made many people in the circle deeply admire her. But compared with Lu Chan, real estate investment is nothing at all. No matter how fast domestic housing prices rise, there is absolutely no reason to increase several times in a year. And Lu Chan's investment in the game has increased dozens of times in a year. Gao He asked, how do we talk to them? Lu Chan smiled and said, professional things of course need professional people to talk. We will set up a professional negotiation team to talk to QQ. Involving hundreds of millions of yuan of transactions, Lu Chan himself does not have the ability to negotiate directly with QQ Games. This is not the direct bargaining of buying vegetables in the market. There are too many things involved. Professional elites must be involved in order to ensure their own interests to the greatest extent. There is no such talent in Happy Entertainment, and there is no such talent in Chunfei Media, but Lu Chan can ask for foreign aid. He called Li Mushi. Li Mushi has recently been operating the crowdfunding website to be listed on Nasdaq. There must be talents in this area. When Li Mushi understood Lu Chen's intentions, her first reaction was unexpectedly. It turns out that this Happy Farm was made by you, causing many employees in our company to be addicted to it and affect their work. Tell me first, how are you going to pay for it? Lu Chan said with a smile, Sister Mushi, you can say how to pay for it. You can also compensate me as your little brother. Bah! Li Mushi spat and said, I don't want a stinky man. Give me your Chunfei. Lu Chan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Female hooligans are really not easy to provoke. After choking Lu Chan, Li Mushi was very proud. Are you mute? Now you have nothing to say, right? I knew you were reluctant. If you want me to help, that's fine. Next time there is such a good project, remember to leave one for me. Lu Chan immediately breathed a big sigh of relief. That's absolutely no problem. After ending the call with Li Mushi, Lu Chan shook the mobile phone in his hand and said with a smile, it's done. There will be a team from Beijing to help us negotiate with QQ. Gao He said with a smile, that's great. The acquisition of Happy Farm by QQ Games has made him entangled for several days. He suddenly remembered one thing and asked, Old 3, do you have any plans to buy a house in Hangzhou? Chapter 627. Buying a house in Hangzhou? Lu Chan was stunned and immediately asked with a smile, Boss, do you want to buy a house? Gao He, whose thoughts were revealed, scratched his head shyly and said, how do you know? I really want to buy a house. If you buy one too, then we can buy one in the same community. Wang Xiaoling poked her husband hard and said, you just started your career, and you want to show off? Although that was what she said, she was still very sweet in her heart. Gao He has long wanted to buy a house in Hangzhou, because it is related to the future of him and Wang Xiaoling. Although they are married, they don't even have a house. How can they take root in this city, and how can they satisfy the parents of the latter? So since the establishment of Happy Entertainment, Gao He has worked very hard, often working overtime for several weeks in a row, and with a group of like-minded brothers, he has made the most popular interactive game on the market. Although the creativity and most of the funds for Happy Farm came from Luchan, without Gao He's sweat, it would not be so successful today. And the source of motivation for him to work hard, buying a house in Hangzhou, is undoubtedly one of the most important factors. Luchan turned to look at Chen Fei and said, "It's good to buy a suite in Hangzhou. What do you think?" Chen Fei smiled and said, "Of course. When it comes to investing in real estate, Chen Fei is definitely an expert in the entertainment industry. Most of her current wealth is earned by speculating in real estate. To be honest, it is much easier than running advertisements, doing endorsements, and releasing albums. However, Chen Fei's investments are mainly concentrated in Beijing. There are no industries in the south. Otherwise, she wouldn't need to live in Tian's house or a hotel in Hangzhou. Tian would be very happy, but now that she is with Luchan, it is inconvenient to live in her house. Therefore, it is very suitable to buy a house in Hangzhou, and Hangzhou is only 2 hours away from Luchan's hometown." Luchan thought about it and said, "Let's go today and buy it directly. Have you seen a good house?" he asked Gao He. Gao He didn't expect Luchan to be so happy. He was going to see the house now, and he couldn't help but scratch his head. Gao He just had the idea of buying a house, but he was so busy with his work that he didn't have time to go to see the house, so he didn't know what good real estate was in Hangzhou recently. On the contrary, it was Wang Xiaoling who answered, "Recently, the best real estate is Shizi Grand Garden. It's located at Longxiang Bridge. It was originally a top-notch mansion that was demolished from the old dormitory area of the local tax bureau. The average price is about 70,000 yuan. The small high-rise building area is at least 170 square meters. I heard that the green area is very large, and there are many century-old trees inside." Her eyes were shining as she spoke with confidence and composure. Inadvertently, she found that everyone was staring at her. Wang Xiaoling, who had always been shrewd, couldn't help but blush. "Why are you all looking at me?" Chen Fei chuckled. Wang Xiaoling also scolded Gao He and said that he was arrogant. In fact, she already had such a thought in her heart. Otherwise, how could she be so familiar with the real estate in Hangzhou? The average price is 70,000? Gao He couldn't help but be speechless. That's at least more than 10 million yuan. How can we afford it? Wang Xiaoling couldn't help but give him a white look. Do you want Luchan to buy a house worth 10,000 or 20,000 yuan? In recent years, the price of houses in Hangzhou has also risen very sharply, and it has increased several times. The houses in the downtown area are generally about 40,000 yuan, and the good location is even more expensive. Shizi Grand Garden is a rare real estate near West Lake. It is normal for it to have a price of more than 10 million yuan. Only such a house is in line with the identity of Luchan and Chen Fei, but for Gao He it's too expensive. Luchan smiled and patted him on the shoulder and said, "It's just more than 10 million yuan. Are you afraid that you can't afford it now? You have to buy a better and bigger house, with appreciation potential and a good school district. You and Xiaoling won't only have one child in the future, right? How can you not have enough rooms?" Before Luchan proposed to found Happy Entertainment, not to mention a house worth more than 10 million yuan, even a house worth more than 1 million yuan would require his family and Xiaoling's family to come up with all their savings for the down payment, and then carry a heavy loan to work hard in this city, and pay for decades of hard work to repay. Now Happy Entertainment has a monthly income of more than 100 million yuan. Even if he and Xiaoling only have 10% of the shares, they can get millions of yuan. Not to mention that they will soon sell Happy Farm. Gao He just hasn't figured it out for a while. Wang Xiaoling blushed at Lu Chen's question. She didn't want to show weakness and retorted, "How many children are you and Fei going to have?" Lu Chen smiled. "I'll have as many as I can. A basketball team is not too few, and a football team is not too many." Chen Fei's face was redder than Wang Xiaoling's, and he couldn't help but pinch Lu Chen. "Do you think I'm a pig?" She hasn't thought about having children for the time being, but she will definitely have a few in the future, but this topic is a bit shameful. Everyone laughed, and the office was filled with a cheerful and joyful atmosphere. Lu Chen asked Wang Xiaoling, "What is the current housing price in Binjiang? Office buildings and commercial houses?" Wang Xiaoling thought about it and said, "In terms of commercial houses, the better ones are more than 20,000 yuan, and the farther ones are about 15,000 to 20,000 yuan. The office buildings are basically the same, and there are a lot of newly developed real estate. Lucia nodded and said, "Our company's current site is too small. I want to wait for Happy Farm to be sold and simply buy an office building here. Of course, it's best to be in the park and buy another 20 commercial houses and sign a long-term contract as a reward for the core employees who have contributed. They will live for free first, and then transfer ownership after they meet the working years or contribution value." What a big deal. Gao He and Wang Xiaoling couldn't help but look at each other. The long-term contract reward property proposed by Lu Chun isn't something new. Many companies often use options or property rewards in order to retain important core employees. In today's housing market, a new house can definitely allow an elite employee to serve the company wholeheartedly without worries, and at the same time, it is also a spur and incentive for other employees. Lu Chun set up Happy Entertainment not for fun or to make a few dollars, but to make Happy Entertainment an important part of his big IP plan, and the investment will only get bigger and bigger. Compared to his ambitious plan, the funds needed to buy dozens of houses and an office building are nothing at all, and the possible effect is excellent. Happy Entertainment doesn't lack money. What it lacks is talents who can take the company to the peak. A lot of talents. He believes that both Gao He and Wang Xiaoling should understand his intentions very well. Chapter 628. Gao He had no objection at all. When he first formed Happy Entertainment, he personally recruited a group of team partners to do the Happy Farm project. At that time, he also made a wish. Whether it is option rewards or real estate rewards, they are all ways to redeem promises. Gao He has never been the kind of person who eats meat by himself, but doesn't even let others drink a mouthful of soup. He is very supportive of Lu Chen's suggestion. "I'll ask Xiaoling to go to a few more real estate companies to ask. There will definitely be a discount if we buy in a group. By the way." Speaking of rewards, Gao He mentioned an employee in the company to Lu Chan. By the way, this is a master invited by Gao He 2 months ago. The other party's name is Liang Yu. He graduated from the Department of Computer Science of Huhai University and is very talented in programming. Gao He also met Liang Yu by chance and was impressed by the other party's deep technical skills. So it took a lot of effort to poach him to Happy Entertainment, specializing in anti-cheating work. For game companies all over the world, cheating is always a lingering nightmare. In the past, many excellent games have been destroyed in the hands of cheating, especially online games, which have been deeply harmed by cheating. It is human nature to like to be opportunistic and reap without sowing. Hardcore players may disdain cheating, but most ordinary players are willing to exploit loopholes to get a sense of achievement in the game if they have the opportunity. It is precisely because of such a huge demand that cheating continues to be banned. Anti-cheating has also become an ability that online game companies must have. Otherwise, the life of an online game will be shortened by a lot. Happy Farm was a small game. It was not difficult to make and the program was very simple. Furthermore, it was very interactive. If it was unknown, it would be fine. No one would waste time and effort to make a plugin. However, Lu Chan has long foreseen its popularity, so he attaches great importance to anti-cheating. Before the official operation, he repeatedly asked Gao He to prepare for this at any cost. The biggest feature of Happy Farm is stealing vegetables. If a plugin has the function of automatically stealing vegetables, then it will be difficult for users to resist the temptation to use it. Moreover, with the automatic stealing of vegetables, the fun of the game was greatly diminished. Liang Yu was poached under such a background. He originally worked in an IT company, and the treatment was not bad. Gao He directly offered twice the salary plus the promise of option dividends, and he got what he wanted. The price paid was worth it. Under Liang Yu's leadership, Happy Entertainment's anti-cheat team did a great job. There were cheats when Happy Farm started to become popular, but it didn't become a disaster until now. The team's contributions couldn't go unnoticed. Happy Entertainment had very strict rules against cheaters from the start. If they were caught once, they would be given a warning, and if they were caught a second time, they would be banned. It didn't matter what level the cheater was, or how much they had invested into the game, they would all be killed. In the past 2 months, Happy Farm had banned more than 100,000 cheats, which had greatly intimidated those cheats users. The game environment had been well maintained, and the game's revenue had been steadily rising. Originally, Lu Chun was going to leave, When he heard Gao He's words, he immediately became interested and asked him to invite someone over. Liang Yu soon came to the general manager's office. The computer expert was thin and small, and the denim t-shirt he wore seemed to have not been washed for a long time, giving off a sloppy feeling. His hair was also messy, and his face was a little pale, but his pair of big eyes were bright and full of expression. He seemed a little dissatisfied with the CEO's summons. "Boss Gao, what's the matter? I'm busy." When this person came in, he only talked to Gao He and didn't notice Lu Chan and Chan Fair next to him. His temper was quite strange. Gao He was obviously used to it. He smiled and said, "I didn't see you come out just now. Let me introduce you. This is our company's chairman, Lu Chan. He is also my classmate." Oh, Liang Yu finally noticed the existence of Lu Chan. His expression was a little stiff. He probably didn't know what to say. Lu Chan took the initiative to reach out to him. "Hello, Director Liang. Liang Yu serves as the technical director of Happy Entertainment and is directly responsible to Gao He." Liang Yu shook hands with Lu Chan and said dryly, Hello, Chairman Lu." Unlike other employees in the company, he doesn't seem to be interested in Lu Chan. He doesn't have the feeling of ordinary people meeting a celebrity. He just socialized with Lu Chan out of courtesy. Gao He smiled and said, "Old Liang, the idea of Happy Farm was put forward by Lu Chan. The game plan was designed by him, including the new version we are working on." At this time, Liang Yu's expression became a lot more serious. He stared at Lu Chan and said, "Although Happy Farm is very simple, the creativity is really good. You are very good." Lu Chan understood that Liang Yu should not know or care about his identity, a big star or chairman. What can make this person moved is at the technical and creative level. He smiled and said, "The success of this game is thanks to your efforts. Happy Farm is just the beginning. There will be more and better games in the future, all of which need your help." Gao He took the opportunity to tell Liang Yu that Lu Chan was going to buy an office building and a house for excellent employees. Liang Yu's reaction was not very enthusiastic. After chatting with Lu Chan and Gao He couldn't wait to say, "Chairman Lu, President Gao, I still have a program that I haven't finished writing." Gao He really had no temper with him. "Then you go and do your work, and by the way, tell everyone the good news." Liang Yu promised, turned his head and left, not even saying goodbye to Lu Chan. Poor Chen Feier, the heavenly queen of the music industry, the most popular female star in the entertainment industry, was directly ignored by him. Gao He was a little embarrassed. Liang Yu, this person. To put it bluntly, people like Liang Yu are typical of high IQ, low EQ, and do not understand the ways of the world. But if it weren't for this, Gao He might not have been able to poach him from that company. Lu Chan smiled and said, "It doesn't matter. I feel that he is very good and worthy of strong support." Lu Chan himself studied computer science. He knows that in the IT industry, there are many talented but unsociable people like Liang Yu. He is not asking him to do public relations and marketing. As long as he has the technology and ability, it is enough. He took Chen Feier's hand and said, let's go see the house." Gao He was surprised. Now. Lu Chan nodded. "If you see it, buy it directly." Very heroic, he also has such confidence. Chapter 629. Lu Chan is definitely a man of action. If he says to buy a house, he says to buy a house. If he says to go now, he says to go now. His time is also very precious. Therefore, although Gao He and Wang Xiaoling had no mental preparation, they still went to the newly opened top real estate, Shizi Haoyuan, under his instigation. For people shared a car. The two women were the most enthusiastic about buying a house. Wang Xiaoling used her mobile phone to find the real estate information of Shizi Haoyuan and discussed it enthusiastically with Chen Feier in the car. Shizi Haoyuan is located in Longxiang Bridge in the uptown of Hangzhou. It only takes a few minutes to walk to West Lake. It is also about the same distance to the nearest subway station. It belongs to the real gold-scarce area. The surrounding business districts, hospitals, schools and so on are very complete. Of course, the price is also extremely expensive, and the average price is almost catching up with the capital. According to the address found on the internet, the group first came to the sales office of Shizi Haoyuan. The sales office was in the luxury clubhouse attached to the real estate. When the Mercedes-Benz stopped steadily at the door, A beautiful sales lady immediately greeted them, smiling and ready to welcome the guests. Lu Chun, who was sitting in the passenger seat, got out of the car first and happened to meet the sales lady. The sales lady suddenly froze. Her eyes widened in surprise, and her eyes were full of disbelief. She couldn't help but cover her mouth. Lu Chun smiled at her and asked, "Hello. This is the sales office of Shizihaon, right?" The sales lady seemed to wake up from a dream, nodded again and stammered, You are teacher Lu Chun? China's voice is popular on Zhejiang satellite TV. As one of the mentors, Lu Chun is also from Zhejiang. I am afraid that no one in Hangzhou doesn't know him. The pride of Zhejiang people. She really couldn't believe that Lu Chun would suddenly come here without any notice. Then she saw Chun Feier, who had just got out of the car. Although Chun Feier was wearing big sunglasses, the sales lady still recognized her at a glance. She almost fainted and felt that her heart couldn't bear it. The two security guards next to them were dumbfounded. As for Gao He and Wang Xiaoling, they were ignored by everyone. Lu Chun nodded and then held Chun Feier's hand. He smiled at the sales lady and said, We are here to look at the house. Let's talk inside. Lu Chun and Chun Feier had actually come to Shizi Luxury Garden to buy a house. The sales lady felt as if she had been hit by a big pie falling from the sky. She almost fainted. She quickly bowed and said, Please. When the two of them appeared in the sales office of the Shizi Grand Garden, there was no surprise that it caused a sensation. The sales ladies, customer managers, and guests who came to see the house all gathered around. All of them took out their mobile phones and kept taking photos. Fortunately, the people in the sales office were smart. They quickly invited the two big stars to a separate VIP room and quickly informed the company's senior management. While Lu Chun and others were looking through the brochures, the big boss of the developer of the Shizi Grand Garden personally rushed over with his people. When he saw Lu Chun, the boss surnamed Lin was very enthusiastic and polite. He said to Lu Chun, Teacher Lu, you are a noble person. You can choose any house here. No matter which one you choose, I will give you an 88% discount and give you a free parking space. In the current real estate market, 88% discount given by developers is a very high discount. Usually, it is 98% discount for loans and 95% discount for full payments. 88% discount is definitely a welfare internal price, which is used to send a big favor. As for parking spaces, not to mention hundreds of thousands of yuan is the minimum, and millions of yuan is not uncommon. Therefore, the scope of his profits is really large and very sincere. Of course, there is no such thing as a businessman. For the top real estate of the Shizi Grand Garden, the two big stars, Lu Chun and Chun Feier, are undoubtedly excellent publicity. A little hype can easily raise the price of the house, and they can earn back 10 times or even dozens of times the price. How could Lu Chun not understand the other party's plan? He said with a smile, Boss, you are welcome, but we want to buy 2 sets. One is for my friend. He pointed to Gao He and his wife next to him. Boss Lin said without thinking, That's no problem. I will give them the same preferential treatment. Wang Xiaoling's eyes suddenly lit up. Will you also give me an extra parking space? Boss Lin did not hesitate. Yes. He now wants to do a full favor, so when the time comes, he will use Lu Chun's fame to advertise. He believes that Lu Chun will not have any opinion. Lu Chun said, Then let's look at the house first. The Shizi Grand Garden is a fully decorated house for sale. Its green area is more than 50%, and the facilities in the community are complete, such as a clubhouse, fountain, swimming pool, tennis court, etc. The whole building is composed of 9 independent small high-rise buildings and a 20-story large house with a duplex structure. The environment here is really excellent. The location is quiet in the middle of the bustling city, but there is no noise of cars and horses in the center of the bustling city. Towering trees can be seen everywhere in the community, many of which are not transplanted. Boss Lin personally accompanied Lu Chun and others to choose a house. He asked Lu Chun's requirements. First, he recommended a 7-story house with a total area of 470 square meters to Lu Chun. The lower floor of this house has a large suspended living room, an open kitchen and 3 rooms. The upper floor also has 3 rooms including a master bedroom, a study, a children's room, a bar, a small hall, a cloakroom, a storage room, and so on. All the rooms are equipped with independent bathrooms, and the master bedroom is connected to the bathroom with a massage bathtub. The decoration is designed by a famous designer. The electrical appliances are all international first-class brands, and the combination of colors is very tasteful. Even Chun Fair is quite satisfied with it. The most special thing is that there is an additional hanging garden and a small swimming pool outside the top floor. Standing on the open balcony, you can overlook the magnificent view of West Lake. The view is not blocked, and privacy is guaranteed. Of course, such a good house is also the most expensive. The price of this 470 square meter house is 88,000 yuan per square meter, and the total price is 36 million yuan. Even with an 88% discount, it is more than 36 million yuan. Wang Xiaoling is speechless. We can't afford it. A house worth more than 30 million yuan, with an area of more than 400 square meters, would cost more than 100,000 yuan a year. Lu Chun asked Chun Fair, "What do you think?" Chun Fair smiled sweetly and said, "I think it's good, so let's buy it." Lu Chun nodded and said to Boss Lin, "We'll buy this house. We'll sign the contract later." Boss Lin is happy. "No problem. I'll get someone to prepare the contract now. If this house is sold, Shizi Luxury Garden will be famous in Hangzhou and even the whole country. Although the discount is a few million yuan, it is completely worth it." Chapter 630. After looking at the house for less than half an hour, he decided to buy a house worth more than 30 million yuan. Lu Chen's efficiency is amazing, giving people the feeling of going to a brand store to buy a set of clothes casually. In contrast, Gao He and his wife were much more cautious. They looked at 4 or 5 houses in Shizi Haoyuan, and finally decided on a 200 square meter duplex. After the discount, it was almost 10 million yuan. It was also the example of Lu Chun. Otherwise, it would be impossible for them to decide on such an expensive house without a period of consideration. In fact, for most people, buying a house is one of the most important events in their life. After choosing a house, Lu Chun called Lu Shi and asked his sister in Beijing to arrange for the transfer of money, plus the taxes and fees needed to purchase the property. The total cost was nearly 50 million yuan. The money for Gao He's house was paid by Lu Chun in advance, and later deducted from the dividends of Happy Entertainment. In less than half a day, the two bought the house and they could move in with their bags. At most, they bought some daily necessities such as toothpaste, toothbrushes, towels, and so on. All the appliances in the new house are complete. After signing the contract and completing the formalities, although it is impossible to get the property ownership certificate immediately, the access card and the key can be obtained in advance, and they can move in at any time. Wang Xiaoling couldn't even believe it. "We have a house?" She twisted Gao He so hard that the latter cried out in pain. "What are you twisting me for?" Wang Xiaoling grinned and said, "I suspect I'm dreaming." Gao He felt wronged. "Then you should twist yourself," Wang Xiaoling said righteously. "I'm afraid of pain. Isn't the effect of twisting you the same?" Gao He was speechless. Lu Chun laughed, patted him on the shoulder and said, "Boss, we can often visit each other in the future." Gao He said with emotion, "To be honest, I also feel like I'm dreaming, old San." He looked back at Lu Chun and said sincerely, "Thank you. If it weren't for Lu Chun's help, he wouldn't have been able to buy a house worth tens of millions of yuan so easily. Most likely, he would have been working hard to make a living and working hard to buy a house." Lu Chun changed his life, as well as his and Wang Xiaoling's fate. But now he had nothing to repay Lu Chun with, so he could only thank him and remember it in his heart. Lu Chun smiled and said, "What are you thanking me for? You earned this house yourself." Gao He scratched his head, feeling more and more grateful. After getting the key, Lu Chun declined Boss Lin's warm invitation to have dinner with everyone. He brought Chun Fair back to his new house. This time it was just the two of them. Standing on the open-air balcony on the top floor again, looking at the West Lake in the distance, Lu Chun held Chun Fair in his arms and said, "You know what? When I first came to Hangzhou to study, I wanted to buy a house here and take root. But later, great changes happened to his family, and his idea could only become a bubble. How could he still have the luxury of buying a house? It was great luck to be able to pay off his family's debts. A dream changed his life, and it also made him meet and fall in love with the beauty in his arms." Just as Gao He was grateful to Lu Chun was extremely grateful to the god of fate, who may or may not exist. Chun Feier reached out and touched his face, then asked with a smile, "Now that your wish to buy a house has been realized, do you have any other wishes?" Lu Chun thought for a moment and said, "Yes." Chun Feier was curious. "What wish?" Lu Chun said with a smile, "It's not enough to have a house. There must be a hostess in the house, right? And children." He bowed his head and said, "Can you help me realize this wish?" Chun Feier's pretty face was stained with a faint blush and she said, "In your dreams." Lu Chun smiled and kissed her fragrant lips. Ring ring. Just after kissing for 3 seconds, the mobile phone in Lu Chun's pocket rang, so that he had to stop being affectionate with Chun Feier and take out the mobile phone. This was his private phone. Few people knew the number. Usually it was his relatives and friends who called. Turned out to be his sister. Lu Chun wondered, "Sister, what's wrong? What's wrong?" The two had just been talking on the phone. Lu Shi said, "Nothing. Lu Shui just called me and complained that you almost forgot her. It's going to be summer vacation. Why don't you send her home then?" Lu Chun sweated. "Then I'll give her a call and give her the key to the house." Lu Shui took the college entrance examination last year and was admitted to Zhejiang Normal University. She had always wanted to be a teacher, and it could be said that her wish had come true. Zhejiang Normal University was also in Hangzhou. This time when Lu Chun returned to Hangzhou to produce The Voice of China, he met Lu Shui once. Because he was too busy with work, they did not see each other again during this period, and they did not make many phone calls. Now that he thought about it, he really neglected her a little. All along, Lu Chun and Lu Shui had the best relationship. Lu Chen's most cherished guitar was bought by Lu Shui with all her lucky money as a birthday gift. And Lu Chen's favorite was of course his sister. Lu Shi said sourly, "You spent tens of millions to buy a house in Hangzhou, and you can't live there for long. You're really extravagant." "I'm still living in a rented house." Lu Chen smiled and said, "Then I'll buy you one when we go back." Selling Happy Farm would bring back at least a few 100 million yuan. Although a large part of it would be reinvested in Happy Entertainment, it would not be a problem to take the rest back to Beijing to buy a house. Even if the housing prices in Beijing were much more expensive than in Hangzhou, Lu Shi was not tempted. "No, the house I live in now is very good. The housing prices in Beijing are so expensive. It's really better to rent a house than to buy a house. I can live very comfortably with the interest of tens of millions in the bank." Even if she had money now, Lu Shi was very meticulous when it came to spending money. She held the financial power of Chun Fei Media, and she was very clear about every cent. In fact, this was also a habit developed when her family was in debt. But on the other hand, if Lu Chun needed money, her sister would give him as much as she could. She had transferred tens of millions to pay for the house. She simply asked and did not have any objection. If it came back to her, she would be reluctant to part with it. Lu Chun knew his sister's temper and didn't say much. He just remembered it in his heart. He called Gao He, who was also in the new house, and went back together. The next most important thing is probably to sell Happy Farm. Chapter 631. The sale of Happy Farm was originally in Lu Chen's plan. This casual interactive game was a small pathfinder for his big IP plan. He never thought of holding it until he died, and quickly cashing it out was exactly what he needed. Because in Lu Chen's memory, there were many similar ideas, and he didn't have to worry about the problem after selling it. The most important thing was that with hundreds of millions of funds, Happy Entertainment could grow at the fastest speed, absorb talent, accumulate experience, and move towards a higher level. Of course, deals involving hundreds of millions of dollars were not so easy to reach. The two sides were bound to have a tug-of-war of bargaining. To reach a win-win cooperation, they needed to persist and compromise at the same time. In this regard, Lu Chun had no experience, but he had always believed that professional things should be left to professionals, so he specially hired a foreign aid team to lead the transaction negotiations. Li Mushi gave him a lot of face. On the third day after Lu Chun called her, a capable team flew from Beijing to Hangzhou to negotiate with QQ Games on behalf of Happy Entertainment. The 5-person team first comprehensively assessed the value of Happy Network and Happy Farm, made a set of detailed commercial evaluation documents, and then contacted the representative of QQ Games on this basis. At the same time, they deliberately released the news that Happy Entertainment was interested in selling Happy Farm, which immediately attracted the attention of many capital tycoons, and also added a thick stack of chips to their own negotiations. Lu Chun didn't care about how the foreign aid team operated at all. He fully let go of the right to negotiate, and continued the recording of The Voice of China with Chan Fe. After the 4th episode, China's The Voice's viewership ratings had climbed to a point that left the industry dumbfounded. With the highest viewership rating of 5.2% and an average of 4.48%, it had swept the variety show market and created the highest viewership rating in the past decade. If compared with the reality talent show, only Supergirl launched by Xiangnan Satellite TV can be compared. However, after Supergirl, Xiangnan Satellite TV, known as the local satellite TV station hegemon, has never launched a variety show that can be compared with it. China's Voice has become a phenomenal variety show, which undoubtedly made Zhidong Satellite TV, which was not weak, have the momentum to challenge Shonan TV in an all-round way. Zhidong Satellite TV premiered Full House of Romance last year, and The Voice of China this year. It could be said that they were heavy-handed. The cooperation between them and Lu Chun was very good, and both their performance and reputation had been greatly improved. As a result, Shonan TV was under a lot of pressure. The domestic TV market was also an extremely competitive market. Dozens of satellite TV stations and hundreds of TV stations were fighting for resources and advertising shares. Above them was the behemoth Central TV. Although Shonan TV's current position was glorious, it was also facing a lot of challenges. Beijing Television, Shanghai Satellite TV, Zhidong Satellite TV. Shonan TV has more than one opponent. With such a strong performance by Zhidong Satellite TV, how could this satellite TV station, which started with entertainment, not be worried? At night, Shacheng Xiangnan Shonan TV building. As the night fell, the city with a population of millions of people was already full of lights. The Xiangnan Satellite TV building was also brightly lit, and the signal tower standing tall on the roof flashed with a fantastic and blurred light, becoming the most obvious landmark nearby. Tian. This 39-story building has an extraordinary influence in the domestic entertainment industry. Countless stars, including Hong Kong and Taiwan stars and artists, are very willing and even sharpen their heads to go in and record the show inside. For more than 10 years, Shonan TV has a unique style among local satellite TV stations with its flexible mechanism and bold and daring style. Many branded programs with high ratings have emerged. Whether it is influence or revenue, it is second only to Central TV. It's just that it's getting more and more difficult for Shonan TV to keep its position. In the small conference room on the top floor, all the lights were on. More than a dozen senior executives of Shonan TV were having a meeting. Everyone looked serious and their eyes were fixed on the data displayed on the projection screen. The data was like a sharp dagger hanging over their heads, making it hard for them to breathe. The person presiding over the meeting was LV Zhenhai, the newly appointed deputy director and program director of Shonan TV. LV Zhenhai, who was less than 40 years old, was the representative of the young generation of Shonan TV. He entered Shonan TV after graduating from Central Media University. He rushed up step by step from the grassroots. There was no doubt that he had great strength and skill. In the past 2 years, the predicament Shonan TV faced was precisely the most important reason why the superiors promoted this young generation vigorously, and LV Zhenhai also needed to come up with a brilliant result to convince people. He looked around like an eagle patrolling its territory, with a frightening sharpness in his eyes. None of the directors, editors, and so on dared to look at LV Zhenhai. The atmosphere in the conference room was very depressing and dull. A newly appointed official had to take care of himself. No one wanted to provoke LV Zhenhai at this time and be regarded as a weak chicken. LV Zhenhai was a little disappointed. He reached out and knocked on the table, then said in a deep voice, "You have seen these data. This year, whether it is our TV series or variety shows, the ratings have all declined. Several ace shows are not optimistic either. It is estimated that the annual advertising revenue growth rate will not exceed 3%. How much was it last year?" After a pause, LV Zhenhai's eyes stared at a half-bald middle-aged man. The latter wiped the sweat on his forehead and replied in a low voice. It was 5.7%. 5.7%? LV Zhenhai's lips twitched, and a cynical smile appeared on his face. I remember in 2014 it was 11.8%, and in 2013 it reached 27%. How much has the increase decreased? No one answered his question. Advertising revenue was the lifeblood of a TV station, especially for satellite TV stations. Money was not everything, and it was absolutely impossible to have no money. The satellite TV stations in remote provinces were almost becoming advertising stations. Why? Wasn't it because of money? Nowadays, the state subsidies for satellite TV stations were decreasing year by year. For satellite TV stations, it was increasingly difficult to maintain a balance of payments and even make a profit. Shonan TV was a big business, and its expenses increased year by year. The advertising revenue growth rate had fallen to the current level, and it was already a deep crisis. Anyone with a bit of brain could see it. Although LV Zhenhai, who just came to power, did not accept a mess, it was absolutely correct to say that it was a hot potato. The pressure on him was greater than that of everyone else present. Chapter 632. The atmosphere in the conference room became more and more depressed. An editor-in-chief of the satellite TV station reached out and pulled his collar, as if this could make himself breathe more smoothly, otherwise he would suffocate to death. The person sitting next to him subconsciously took out a cigarette from his pocket. When he wanted to smoke one, he was shocked to realize that smoking was prohibited here, so he could only put it back awkwardly. Who doesn't want Shonan TV to maintain its hegemony forever? Everyone is willing to see advertising revenue rising steadily, but the market is ever-changing. The higher you hold it up, the harder you fall. Shonan TV's current situation is pretty good. No one answered LV Zhenhai's question. LV Zhenhai himself said the answer. I've studied it carefully. Our Shonan TV's lack of growth in the past 2 years is inseparable from one person. I won't say the name of this person, but I believe you all know him. Lu Chun. All the people present are the top executives of Shonan TV station. They are the real backbone elites. None of them are fools. Of course, they know the person LV Zhenhai said very well. As a star artist who has soared in popularity in the domestic entertainment industry in the past 2 years, Lu Chun and Shonan TV seem to be incompatible with each other. There are frequent conflicts between them. Although it can't be said that they are like fire and water, they are almost the kind of people who don't get along with each other. If it's an ordinary star, even if he is very popular, Shonan TV can still regard him as an ant. There is no need to pay attention to him at all, and they can even use their position in the circle to suppress him. But Lu Chun is completely different. The feud between the two sides can be traced back to 15 years ago. Shonan TV had just launched the Super Singer talent show. After several battles, both overtly and covertly, Shonan TV lost and lost very badly. Singing China, Autumn in My Heart, Full of Romance, and now The Voice of China. All of which are the pain of Shonan TV, like a sharp knife. Lu Chun stepped on Shonan TV and climbed to the top. Many people were unwilling to mention his name at all. Last time, Shonan TV had intended to use the Golden Luan Awards to repair their relationship with Lu Chun, but in the end, they were slapped in the face and almost became a joke in the industry. However, LV Zhenhai ruthlessly opened the wound and said bluntly, I've looked into it in detail. We originally had no grudges with Lu Chun, but someone played a very bad role in it. Jin Hongwei. A name immediately appeared in everyone's mind, and some of the smarter ones vaguely understood. The reason why Shonan TV and Lu Chun have a grudge can be traced back to Jin Hongwei. At that time, Super Singer forcibly eliminated Lu Chun, not only missing a real genius, but also causing an uproar in public opinion. It was also Jin Hongwei's relationship that was strong enough to suppress the matter and make Shonan TV lose face in vain. LV Zhenhai brought up the old matter again. This is to raise a knife to chop people. Jin Hongwei can be regarded as an old relationship with Shonan TV. His Jushin Corporation has a lot of cooperation with Shonan TV, and he is one of the important figures who connect Shonan TV with Beijing's entertainment industry. This big shot in the domestic entertainment industry has inextricably linked relationships with Shonan TV. LV Zhenhai suddenly pointed his sword at Jin Hongwei, which really shocked everyone. Isn't he afraid of Jin Hongwei's backlash? Unless LV Zhenhai got instructions from the upper echelons, his head must have been kicked by a donkey to openly express his dissatisfaction with Jin Hongwei. Everyone looked at each other and didn't know what to say. LV Zhenhai's butcher's knife has been raised, and it is very likely that he is holding an imperial sword in his hand. In such a situation, does he really think that he doesn't dare to cut off his head? Therefore, smart people know to be wise and protect themselves. Even those who intend to speak up for Jin Hongwei wisely shut their mouths, not wanting to touch LV Zhenhai's bad luck. Tonight, LV Zhenhai is here to be the villain. I propose to review the cooperation with Jushin Corporation, settle the matter that should be settled, and then show our sincerity to contact Chunfei Media more. Jin Hongwei is the boss of Jushin Corporation, and LV Zhenhai undoubtedly wants to take drastic measures against Jin Hongwei. The so-called review is actually to suspend the cooperation and kick Jin Hongwei away. Jin Hongwei is known as the godfather of the entertainment management circle. Although this nickname was flattered by others, it is an indisputable fact that he has great power in the circle. However, Jin Hongwei's power is great to a large extent because of his long-term cooperation with Shonan TV. Once this lifeline is cut off, it is simply a pipe dream for him to want to call the wind and summon the rain in the circle. There is a trace of sadness in the hearts of several executives, but there are also a few who secretly gloat. Even within Shonan TV, there are many people who don't like Jin Hongwei and Jushin Corporation. A supervisor hesitated for a moment and asked, should we ask the leader of the company? Of course, he is talking about LV Zhenhai's superior. LV Zhenhai glanced at the person lightly and said, there is no need, this matter was decided by the top. The supervisor was suddenly speechless, and his heart completely shrank. He said this sentence, which is also worthy of Jin Hongwei. LV Zhenhai continued, now that China's voice is in the limelight, it is difficult for our third season of Super Singer to make a difference in the ratings. I have applied for a delay in production and, as far as I know, after Lu Chun completes the production of China's Voice, he will most likely start shooting his new show You from the Star. We have to strive to cooperate with him once, and it is naturally best to win the premiere rights. But, someone asked, didn't the talks break down last time? They have been slapped in the face once. Do they have to send their face to the door again? Where is the dignity of Shonan TV? LV Zhenhai said. Last time was last time, this time is this time. As long as we show sincerity, there is no grudge that can't be resolved. Why can't we talk about it again? Everyone understood that tormenting Jin Hongwei was LV Zhenhai's gift to Lu Chun. Some people were indignant. Director Lu, are we looking down on him by doing this? LV Zhenhai was not angry. He picked up his teacup and took a sip and said lightly, look at Beijing television and then look at Zhejiang satellite TV. What do you think? Lu Chun is not an ordinary person. He is a star artist with the potential to dominate. Most importantly, he is very young now, he still has a long future, and his contacts in the circle have accumulated very deep, and his future is limitless. Tell me, what are the benefits of fighting him? This time everyone was silent. Chapter 633. Beijing, Jushin Corporation's General Manager's Office. The luxuriously decorated room was filled with smoke, and the air was filled with a choking smell. Jin Hongwei sat on the spacious office table, his bloodshot eyes staring at the phone on the table, as if something would jump out at any moment. The ashtray next to the phone was filled with cigarette butts, and 2 crushed cigarette packs were thrown aside. It was a pitiful sight to behold. As the boss of Jushin Corporation, a famous management company in Beijing's entertainment industry, Jin Hongwei had always been confident and proud. He had promoted countless celebrities through his hands, and many of them were big shots. Although these big shots eventually flew away, they gave Jin Hongwei the title of Godfather of Entertainment. Although he couldn't be said to be omnipotent in the domestic entertainment industry, there were few who didn't give him face. Many newcomers and small-time celebrities racked their brains to sign with Jushin Corporation, because relying on Jushin Corporation's connections and resources, quickly becoming famous was not a dream. Therefore, in this industry, whatever Jin Hongwei wanted, he could easily get. However, in the past few days he ran into trouble, big trouble. First of all, a big project that he had been negotiating with Shonan TV had been put on hold. This was a television series with an investment of more than 100 million. Jin Hongwei had spent a lot of money to buy the rights, signed actors, and was ready to play big with Shonan TV. He was confident that this IP adaptation could make a group of newcomers famous, wash away the poor operating conditions of Jushin Corporation in the past 2 years, and re-establish his position in the industry. However, what Jin Hongwei didn't expect was that Shonan TV had promised him very well, and the internal PR was already done. They were only one step away from signing the contract, but in the end, they were hit in the head. This directly stunned Jin Hongwei. He had been preparing to shoot this TV series for at least a year. When he was looking for investors, he patted his chest and promised the investors that the partner would be Shonan TV, and that it would only premiere on Shonan TV. Originally, this was a very logical thing to do. Although Jin Hongwei's roots were in Beijing, he had a long history of cooperation with Shonan TV. His connections were deep-rooted, and there was no one in the upper echelons of the satellite TV station who did not know him. Moreover, this cooperation was also a good thing for Shonan TV. Then why would there be a sudden change? Of course, Jin Hongwei didn't want to give up. He immediately flew to Shacheng to find some connections, but his friends from the satellite TV station avoided him. They didn't pick up his calls, didn't see him, and didn't even dare to enter the TV station. It was as if he had become an evil creature that everyone hated overnight. Jin Hongwei would definitely not let it go after being rejected repeatedly. Even if he was going to die, he should at least die knowing the reason, right? But before he could figure it out, bad news came from Beijing. Many contracted artists under conglomerate filed a joint lawsuit in the court, asking to terminate the contract between the two parties. As for the reason for the lawsuit, it was mainly that conglomerate's contract was too harsh and seriously violated the artist's personal freedom. They even forced the artist to drink and eat with them. This was big news. His nest was on fire. Jin Hongwei couldn't care less about Shonan TV. He quickly flew back to Beijing from Shacheng to put out the fire. He was exhausted from all the tossing and turning. While dealing with the lawsuit, Jin Hongwei asked people around to inquire about the news, wanting to know who was dealing with him. Shonan TV broke the contract and its artists betrayed them. It couldn't be a coincidence that these two major events happened together. Jin Hongwei had been in this circle for decades. He was very domineering and arrogant. He had offended many people. In the past 2 days, Jin Hongwei couldn't eat well, sleep well, and had nightmares. Ring ring, the phone on the desk suddenly rang, and the ringtone sounded particularly ear-piercing. But Jin Hongwei seemed to have grabbed a life-saving straw and grabbed the phone with lightning speed. Hello. After talking with the person on the other side of the phone for a few minutes, his face turned from green to red, then white, and finally black. Through the relationship of a scoundrel friend, Jin Hongwei finally learned the reason why Shonan TV broke the contract. It turned out that the newly appointed deputy director and program director of Shonan TV, LV Zhenhai, was very disgusted with him and decided not to cooperate with conglomerate. When he first heard the news, Jin Hongwei felt it was incredible, because when LV Zhenhai took office, he personally went to Shacheng to pay his respects. LV Zhenhai's attitude towards him was very intimate. How could he suddenly turn hostile? Then the other party mentioned a person's name, and that was Lu Chan. If Jin Hongwei was asked which star in the entertainment circle had the deepest impression, then Lu Chan would definitely be one of them. This young man, who rose rapidly in the entertainment circle, was simply a sore point for Jin Hongwei. He regarded him as an enemy. The grudge between the two began when Lu Chan rejected him. Jin Hongwei also tried to suppress Lu Chan, but the result was that he was slapped in the face again and again. Later, Lu Chan soared to the sky. Not only did he make a lot of contacts in the circle, but he also climbed up the relationship with the Li family. Jin Hongwei wanted to use some tricks, but he couldn't do anything. He could only watch the other party become the most popular star among the newcomers. And Shonan TV chose to terminate the cooperation with him because of Lu Chan. Jin Hongwei felt like vomiting blood. But there was nothing he could do. He knew that Shonan TV must be unwilling to accept the current predicament of the current decline in the ratings of TV series and variety shows. They wanted to repair their relationship with the popularity king, Lu Chan, and then gave him as a meeting gift. In the entertainment circle, who didn't know that Jin Hongwei and Lu Chan had a grudge? Shonan TV turning hostile should be the first domino to topple. The betrayal of many artists under the Assembly of Stars was probably related to this matter, but he got the news too late. And if he left the golden signboard of Shonan TV, what would he be left with? Jin Hongwei suddenly felt a wave of fear. At this moment, the room door was suddenly pushed open, and the secretary walked in, trembling with fear. "Director Jin, someone is looking for you." Jin Hongwei suddenly became furious. "What are you doing? Didn't I tell you not to disturb me? I don't want to see anyone." The secretary was about to cry. She cowered to the side, and then two uniformed men behind her came forward. One of them said in a deep voice, "You are the general manager of Jushin Corporation, Jin Hongwei? I am the deputy captain of the economic investigation team in Beijing. You are suspected of contract fraud. It's over." Looking at the two policemen who had just shown their identification, Jin Hongwei's mind was blank. He knew that he was screwed this time, completely screwed. Chapter 634. Jin Hongwei had fallen. When Lu Chan received the news, he had just finished recording the latest episode of The Voice of China. The call came from Beijing, and the informant was Lu Shi. His sister was obviously very happy. Even Lu Chan, who was thousands of miles away, could feel her gloating mood. Jin Hongwei's fall was actually a little unjust. The cause of the incident was that Shonan TV suddenly cut off its cooperation with Jushin Corporation and killed a big project that Jin Hongwei was working on. As a result, it led to a series of repercussions, which eventually led to the downfall of this big shot in the entertainment industry. Originally, Jin Hongwei was fine. Shonan TV cutting off their cooperation would at most deal a heavy blow to his career. However, he had made too many enemies in the industry and had been too arrogant and domineering in the past. In the end, he was reported for contract fraud and was invited to the police station for tea. Then, when the police searched Jushin Corporation, they found a lot of illegal evidence. The worst thing was that they found a large amount of drugs in Jin Hongwei's house. This time, Jin Hongwei's life was really at stake. The domestic attitude towards drug crimes had always been extremely strict. No matter how powerful Jin Hongwei was, he would still be sentenced to death if he touched this red line. The drugs he hid in the villa were not for his own use, but to control several of his artists. Such shameful methods were nothing new in the entertainment industry. Being caught in the act was a big deal. Lu Shi said, "Just based on the drugs he hid, he should be sentenced to life imprisonment at the very least." Jin Hongwei had connections in the upper echelons, but not only could his connections not help him at this time, they even became his death talisman. More dirty deeds were exposed, but they were controlled by public opinion, so ordinary people did not know about it. In short, this time Jin Hongwei was 100% done for. He would basically spend the rest of his life in prison. The famous Jushin Corporation in the industry had already fallen, becoming a fat piece of meat that people in the industry fought over. To be honest, if it weren't for his sister's call, Lu Chan would have almost forgotten about Jin Hongwei. However, Lu Chan did not feel the slightest bit of sympathy for his misfortune. Instead, he felt delighted. Jin Hongwei had done so many filthy things, it was too late for him to receive his retribution. What he didn't expect was that what Lu Shi said was actually related to him. That was the reason why Shonan TV interrupted its cooperation with Jushin Corporation, causing Jin Hongwei to be pushed down by everyone, was because Shonan TV intended to repair its relationship with him. LV Zhenhai, the deputy director and program director of Shonan TV, expressed his appreciation for Lu Chan in public. Lu Shi said disdainfully, "Even they have such a day. If they knew this day would come, they wouldn't have done it in the first place." Her sister had always been brooding over Shonan TV's suppression of Lu Chan in the past 2 years. Today she finally had her revenge. It's too late. Lu Chan smiled inside in his heart. The world was really unpredictable. After ending the call with Lu Shi, Chan Feier asked curiously, "What happened?" When her sister called, she was next to Lu Chan. She vaguely heard something, but she didn't hear it clearly. So Lu Chan told her the whole story. Chan Feier also felt delighted after hearing it. This person should have been dealt with long ago. He's too disgusting. Back then, she had signed with Jushin Corporation, so she had a good understanding of Jin Hongwei's character. If it weren't for Tan Hong's help, it wouldn't have been easy to get out of this big hole. Fortunately, she escaped in time. After successfully leaving Jushin Corporation, Chen Feier opened her own studio and had a new career development. Even Chen Feier, who had always been kind and had a good reputation in the circle, was gloating over Jin Hongwei's misfortune. Needless to say, Jin Hongwei's enemies were even more so. Now that he was in prison, there were naturally some people who secretly pushed him. At least it could make Jin Hongwei's backer shrink back. The downfall of Jin Hongwei actually didn't affect Lu Chen much. Instead, it was Shonan TV's intention to repair their relationship with him, which wasn't necessarily a bad thing. Although the ratings had been declining in recent years, Shonan TV was still the #1 local satellite TV station. It had a huge influence in the industry and was very strong. Although Lu Chen wasn't afraid of Shonan TV at all, if Shonan TV was willing to put down their status, he wouldn't slap them in the face and offend them to death. Because there was no deep hatred between the two sides, it was nothing more than a dispute of interests. Jin Hongwei was finished, and the original grievances could almost be resolved. If Shonan TV came up with enough sincere conditions to cooperate with him, Lu Chen could fully consider it. His cooperation with Beijing Television and Zhejiang Satellite TV was very pleasant, but it was impossible for Chunfei Media to put all the eggs in one or two baskets. Of course, Lu Chen wouldn't think about these things now, and he also left Jin Hongwei behind. While China's Voice was stepping up the recording, the negotiations between Happy Entertainment and QQ Games, after more than a week of tug-of-war, finally had a result. QQ Games fully acquired Happy Network and Happy Farm at a price of 575 million yuan, which was several times higher than their initial offer, which could be described as full of sincerity. What Happy Entertainment paid was not only the phenomenal casual game Happy Farm, but also the subsequent development version of Happy Farm, as well as the copyrights of derivative games such as Happy Fishery and Happy Ranch. This acquisition could be described as a win-win situation. Happy Entertainment got a sum of cash that was urgently needed for expansion, and QQ Games also got a heavyweight product, which not only completely made up for the previous weaknesses, but also relied on the powerful resources of QQ to recover the cost and realize profits. On June 24th, the two sides signed a formal transfer contract in Hangzhou. The negotiation team from Beijing played an important role in it. Without the help of several foreign aid, it was really impossible for Happy Entertainment to bite off a piece of meat from QQ Games alone. And this deal also caused a great sensation in the industry. Everyone didn't expect that the newly emerged Happy Entertainment would actually sell the hen that laid the golden eggs. In many people's view, Happy Entertainment was killing the goose that laid the golden eggs, and even looked down on Lu Chen, the actual controller of Happy Entertainment, a little bit, thinking that he didn't have a long-term vision and only cared about the small profits in front of him. Lu Chen just smiled at such remarks. Others only knew that he sold a golden hen, but they didn't know that he had a flock of golden hens. He sold one in order to build a bigger and better chicken coop in a short time. The start of Happy Entertainment has just begun, and Happy Farm will by no means be the last glory. Chapter 635. 575 million. QQ Games bought Happy Network, and Happy Farm changed owners. This news spread all over the country at the speed of light, and unsurprisingly became the focus of heated discussion on the internet. As a small company that has just been established for less than half a year, Happy Entertainment, with a registered capital of only 5 million, has undoubtedly created a legend in the industry. More inside stories were dug out, and the most talked about was the owner of Happy Entertainment, Lu Chen. Many people felt that their common sense had been subverted. Lu Chen made his debut as a singer. His musical talent has long been recognized. After he became famous, he wrote and acted in 2 popular TV series, and then launched a movie with a box office of more than 1 billion. His ability to make money simply made people envious and jealous. But who would have thought that Lu Chen's investment in the game industry also had such a brilliant vision? And insiders revealed that the idea of Happy Farm came from Lu Chen himself. Tall, handsome, talented and strong ability to invest and make money, the young and unmarried Lu Chen has become the most dazzling diamond bachelor in the entertainment industry. Chen Feier jokingly said to him that if he moved to Xiangjiang or Baodao and had the will, it was estimated that many women inside and outside the circle would be willing to fight for the position of the second wife or third wife. For such a statement, Lu Chen wisely chose to pretend to be deaf, and mute. Chen Feier's jealousy was also quite strong. But some things can't be pretended to be deaf and mute. Right now, he was in the limelight too much and the quick money was a bit hot. After careful consideration, Lu Chun discussed with his sister and others, and the funds from the sale of Happy Farm were distributed after taxes were deducted. First, they bought a 2-story office building in the newly completed Huanya Digital Building in the Binjiang IT Industrial Park, with a total area of 2,200 square meters, as the new headquarters of Happy Entertainment, and then recruited staff. The Huanya Digital Building was one of the landmarks of the industrial park, and the price was naturally not cheap. Happy Entertainment paid 70 million for it. Lu Chun took out another 150 million yuan as a dividend. He personally received 120 million yuan, and another 15 million yuan was given to Gao He and his wife. The other 15 million yuan was rewarded to all the employees of the company according to the proportion of contribution. The least amount was tens of thousands. Could be said that everyone was happy. Of course, because Lu Chun paid for the house last time, most of the dividends of the Taka couple returned to Lu Chun's hands. The remaining 270 million would be used for the expansion of the company's operating funds, which would be invested in the purchase of equipment, the increase of professional staff, and new projects. Finally, Lu Chun announced on his personal blog that he would donate 100 million yuan to the Chun Fei Charity Fund to expand the scope of the charity fund's assistance. It would no longer be limited to assistance for poor leukemia patients, but it would also increase the number of assistance programs for poor children and adolescents. Such a large donation immediately caused a sensation in the country. It's not new for stars to do charity. There are also many artists in the circle who are good at donating, but it's really the first time for Lu Chun to donate hundreds of millions of yuan at one time. Tien, most importantly, after more than a year of operation, the Chun Fei Charity Fund had established a very good reputation among the public. Information was open and the accounts were clear. It had actually helped many poor leukemia patients. Compared with the show-style donations of many stars, and those charity organizations that are heavily shady, the Chun Fei Charity Fund co-founded by Lu Chun, Chunfer and them was undoubtedly a real clean stream. On the second day after Lu Chun announced the donation, the official V of the Chun Fei Charity Fund posted a 100 million yuan check on his blog to prove that Lu Chun wasn't just talking, but actually took out real money. In this way, the after-tax proceeds from the sale of Happy Farm were basically spent by Lu Chun. On June 28, China Youth Daily published the news of Lu Chun's donation of 100 million yuan on its front page. While introducing Lu Chun in detail, it praised him as a model of young artists in the new era. China Youth Daily was a major newspaper at the central level. To be able to get positive reports and honorary praise from China Youth Daily was equivalent to putting on a thick layer of protective armor for Lu Chun. If the ordinary media wanted to discredit him, they would have to weigh the consequences. After the article in China Youth Daily was published, Li Murong, who was far away in Beijing, took the initiative to call Lu Chun for the first time, and praised him a lot in his words. The eldest son of the Li family is extremely low-key in the circle, and lives an almost semi-secluded life. Lu Chun met Li Mubai, and then met his eldest brother, but he only met him a few times. Usually, the contact between the Li family and Lu Chun is completed through Li Mushi and Li Mubai. Li Murong basically doesn't ask about his younger brother and sister's affairs. So, it's really not easy for him to take the initiative to call Lu Chun. Li Murong revealed on the phone that the reason why Lu Chun was able to get the focus of China Youth Daily, and even be held up as a model was not only because Lu Chun donated 100 million yuan, but also because as an artist, his image has always been very good. There were no scandals and even few scandals. Nowadays, the domestic entertainment market is getting bigger and bigger, and the entertainment industry has become a considerable part of the national economy. But when the plate is big, some chaos is inevitable. Especially nowadays, star artists often take drugs, go whoring, have an affair and drive drunk. In order to get ahead, they will do anything. There is no bottom line in all kinds of hype. The image of the entertainment industry in the public is getting worse and worse. Of course, the relevant state management departments can't ignore this. It is imperative to stir up turbidity and clear up turbidity. Lu Chun also happened to enter the line of sight of the senior management. With this honor in hand, as long as he doesn't make a mistake, there will be no big obstacles to his future development in the upper levels, and he can even get a lot of help. Don't look at him throwing out 100 million yuan now. What he can get in the future is far more than that. Li Murong and Lu Chun talked on the phone for more than half an hour. After that, Lu Chun thought quietly for a long time alone, and had new ideas about his future path. Until Chun Fair, who was dressed up, came in and said, "Are you ready? We can almost go." Lu Chun came to his senses, got up and said, "Okay, let's go." Chun Fair asked curiously, "What were you thinking about just now? You look like you're lost in thought." Lu Chun shook his head and said, "Nothing. Let's go quickly, lest little Shui gets anxious." Chun Fair didn't ask much. She carefully tidied up Lu Chen's shirt, and then reached out to take his arm. The two looked at each other and smiled, and everything was said without words. Chapter 636. Zhidong Normal University, Room 405, Building 5, Girls' Dormitory Building. 2 sets of bunk beds and a double desk filled up the small room, leaving only a space for walking in the middle. However, both the walls and the floor were clean and tidy. There were many adorable decorations in the room, and there was a faint smell in the air. It was the unique smell of young girls. Lu Shui sat cross-legged on the bed, holding her mobile phone and lost in thought. She had been studying at this university for a year, and in a few days she would go home for the summer vacation. Last year's college entrance examination, Lu Shui did very well. With her grades, it was no problem for her to enter a better university, but she still chose Zhidong Normal University because she had always wanted to be a teacher. How good it was to be a teacher! Not only did she have weekends, but she also had summer and winter vacations. She could reprimand the naughty children. Moreover, Lu Shui was studying art. It would be even easier to be an art teacher in the future. She liked drawing and she had a talent in this area which was the most suitable. Lu Shui was also very happy during this year of university life. She had established a good relationship with the other 3 girls in the dormitory. She had her own bosom friends, and her life had entered a new stage. Most importantly, she had a brother that everyone envied. It was just that since entering Zhidong Normal University, Lu Shui had never mentioned her brother to others. The main reason was that she didn't want to be the object of others' criticism. But today's situation was different. Squeak, the door of the room was pushed open, and 3 girls came in talking and laughing, which also interrupted Lu Shui's thoughts. "Xiaoxue, didn't you say that someone wanted to invite us to dinner? It's almost 5 o'clock now." The one who spoke was the eldest of the 4 girls, Wang Yan, a Xiang girl with a shrewd and straightforward personality. "Did someone stand you up? Then let's go out and eat by ourselves. We'll split the bill." The girl in the red dress behind Wang Yan pursed her lips and smiled. "Whoever dares to stand up our little sister Xiaoxue will be banned." The girl in the red dress was Lin Yuyan, a native of Hangzhou. She was the most beautiful of the 4 girls. She was the flower of the Chinese department, so she usually had many suitors, but she had high standards and was still single. Lin Yuyan and Lu Shui hit it off the best, and their relationship was extremely good. The last girl in a white dress was called Bai Fangfang. She was from Shanghai. She was beautiful and smart. She asked curiously, "Xiaoxue, can you tell us who's treating us? Could it be a secret lover that you have hidden outside?" Lu Shui blushed and reached out to pat Bai Fangfang. "What secret lover? That sounds awful." "That's my brother." "Your brother?" Bai Fangfang nimbly dodged to the side and said in surprise, "Your brother? Since when did you have a brother? I've never heard you mention him before. Is he a lover?" Wang Yan and Lin Yuyan laughed so hard that they were trembling. Lu Shui was completely speechless. She could only make a disdainful gesture at Bai Fangfang and did not want to explain anymore. They would be in for a treat later. The brightest star in the night sky. At that moment, her phone suddenly rang. The ringtone was Lu Chen's, "The brightest star in the night sky." Lu Shui's eyes suddenly lit up. She could not care less about Bai Fangfang and picked up the phone as fast as she could. "Brother." Yes, I know. I'll be right there. Wait for me." Bai Fangfang and Wang Yan looked at each other. Was it really Lu Shui's brother who invited them to dinner? Lu Shui hung up the phone and waved it at them proudly. "My brother is outside the school. Let's go together." Lin Yuyan was surprised. "Xiaoxue, is that really your brother?" Lu Shui could not help but roll her eyes. She said with certainty, "Yes, he is my brother." Seeing her so serious, everyone finally believed her. Ah, Wang Yan quickly said. Then I need to comb my hair first. It'll be done in a few minutes. Me too. Then I'll touch up my makeup. Although it was said to be a few minutes when the girls started to dress up, the time really did not count. If it were not for Lu Shue's frequent urging, it was estimated that they would not be able to leave the dormitory for at least half an hour. Even so, when they arrived at the dormitory, it was already past 5 o'clock. Xiao Shui. A tall boy came over with a bouquet of flowers and stared eagerly at Lu Shui. Outside the entrance of the female dormitory, there were often many boys waiting. Most of these boys were not from the school. They were either there to woo a girl or to take her out on a date. It was a sight to behold in the university. Usually, all kinds of confession, courtship, and even marriage proposals were frequently seen. Everyone was already used to it. This boy was nearly 1.8 meters tall, fair and clean, at least much better than the ugly boys next to him. But in Lu Shue's eyes, he was no different from a fly. She stopped, frowned, and said, Wu Hao, I'm not that familiar with you, so don't call me Xiao Shui. What do you want? The tall boy showed a trace of frustration and immediately smiled. Xiao, Lu Shui, I want to invite you to dinner and then watch a movie tonight. How about it? I've already bought the tickets. Lu Shui lightly said. Thank you, but I already have an appointment. Goodbye. She didn't even pay attention to the flowers that the other party offered her, and pulled Lin Yuyan away. This Wu Hao was her senior, but he was just a student in the Chinese department. Relying on his talent and family background, he kept pestering her, which annoyed her. She never gave him a good face, let alone today. Wang Yan and Bai Fengfeng quickly followed. Wang Yan and Wu Hao knew each other. When she passed by him, she said, Xiao Shui really has an appointment. Someone invited us to dinner tonight, so you should go back. She said it with good intentions, but when Wu Hao heard it, he felt like he was struck by lightning. Looking at Lu Shue's back as she left, he gritted his teeth and followed her all the way. He wanted to see what kind of person could invite Lu Shui out. Lu Shui did not notice that there was someone following her. She was afraid that the person would be anxious, so she pulled Lin Yuyan and quickened her pace. Soon, they arrived at the gate of Beijing Normal University. Near the evening, there were always a lot of cars parked on the road outside the gate of Beijing Normal University. Today was no exception, but Lu Shui quickly found her target. A dozen meters away, there was a black Mercedes-Benz parked. A tall young man wearing sunglasses leaned on the door and looked around. Brother! Lu Shui hurriedly called out, smiling like a flower as she waved at the other party. The three girls with Lu Shui noticed the young man, and their hearts were full of curiosity. This is Lu Shui's brother? He looks very cool. Chapter 637. Lu Shui quickened her pace and trotted. The afterglow of the setting sun shone on her body, as if she was covered with a light golden coat. Her long hair and skirt were flying, and the joyful smile on her face was like a blooming summer flower, with an indescribable youthful beauty, which made people standing on the roadside stare at her. However, like a bird flying to the woods, she threw herself into the arms of the tall young man standing beside the Mercedes-Benz. Alas! People who saw this scene all sighed in their hearts, with indescribable complex feelings. Wu Hao, who had just appeared at the school gate, also happened to see this scene. He suddenly felt as if he had been struck by lightning. He never dreamed that the goddess he admired would be so intimate with another man in public. A stream of hot blood rushed into his brain, and Wu Hao immediately lost his mind, suddenly speeding up his pace and rushing forward. But when he was a few steps away from the young man, he suddenly felt guilty and timid, because the young man wearing sunglasses was taller than him, and although he couldn't see his face completely, he was definitely more handsome than him. Moreover, he was rich. This Mercedes-Benz exuded a luxurious atmosphere, and it couldn't be bought without 1 or 2 million yuan. This was a real tall, rich and handsome man. Wu Hao's family was not bad, but compared with this man, there was no comparison at all. Little Lu Shui, who is he? Wu Hao was extremely unwilling to run over, and after struggling in his heart for a few times, he still opened his mouth to ask. Lu Shui turned her head and saw Wu Hao. She couldn't help but be stunned, and immediately showed a look of disgust. Wu Hao, I have nothing to say to you. Please don't harass me in the future. Thank you. The tall man holding Lu Xue frowned, and his breath suddenly became cold. Wu Hao suddenly felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave, not only because of Lu Xue's disgust, but also because of the invisible pressure exerted by this man. His lips moved a few times and he wanted to say something, but he couldn't say anything. In the end, he turned around and left with no face. If he continued to stay, he would be humiliated. In addition to becoming a joke, what else could he do? Lu Xue grumbled discontentedly. The tall man shook his head and let her go. At this time, Wang Yan, Bai Fangfang, and Lin Yuyan all rushed over. Wang Yan glanced at Wu Hao with disgust as he brushed past her. She never had a good impression of this sticky candy. Her girlfriends looked at the tall man curiously. This is Lu Xue's brother? How cool. Lu Xue quickly introduced. Brother, they are all my roommates. Let's get in the car first. It was too eye-catching here. The small accident just now had attracted a lot of attention. She did not want to expose her brother's true colors immediately. The tall man nodded and said, Okay, let's talk in the car. He opened the car door for the girls in a gentlemanly manner. Lu Xue naturally sat in the front passenger seat, while Wang Yan and the other two sat in the back seat. After getting in the car and closing the door, cutting off the sight from the outside, Lu Xue finally let out a sigh of relief and officially introduced him to her friends. This is my brother Lu Chan. Lu Chan took off his sunglasses and turned to the three girls with a smile. Hello. Wang Yan, Bai Fangfang, and Lin Yuyan were stunned. They would never have dreamed that Lu Xue's brother was Lu Chan, the Lu Chan who sang You Who Sat Next to Me, the Lu Chan who starred in Autumn in My Heart and Full House of Romance, and the Lu Chan who filmed A Chinese Ghost Story. He was also one of the 4 mentors of China's Voice. Lu Chan. No one could believe their eyes, but the truth was right in front of them. They had no choice but to believe it. Wang Yan mumbled, Oh my God, I'm not dreaming, am I? Lin Yuyan looked at Lu Chan without saying a word, her pretty face blushing shyly. She was a fan of Lu Chan and often mentioned Lu Chan in front of Lu Xue. Who would have thought that Lu Xue was Lu Chen's biological sister? Bai Fangfang snapped out of her daze and grabbed Lu Xue's arm, gritting her teeth and saying, Well done, Lu Xue. You actually hid your brother so deeply. How many feelings have you cheated on us? Lu Xue giggled and begged for mercy. Haven't I introduced him to you now? She then added, Besides, there's no point in telling you. My brother already has a girlfriend. Lu Chan did not know whether to laugh or cry. Wang Yan, Bai Fangfang, and Lin Yuyan all blushed. Who didn't know that Lu Chen's girlfriend was Chan Fei, the queen of the music industry? They were the best couple in the entertainment industry. Damn Xiaoxua, what nonsense are you talking about? Lu Xue proudly introduced her 3 roommates to Lu Chan, and the atmosphere in the car finally returned to normal. Lu Chan said, Thank you for taking care of Xiaoxua. She's very naughty. She must have troubled you a lot, right? The 3 girls immediately turned into good ladies and said that it was no trouble at all. Xiaoxua was very good. In the midst of laughter, Lu Chan drove the 4 girls to a private club that had a reservation. Private clubs first appeared in Beijing, and later spread to the big cities in the south. Of course, Hangzhou also had high-end private clubs. Usually, only members could enter this special circle to spend money. This club was very famous in Hangzhou. Lu Chan relied on Tian's recommendation to get a membership. Of course, with his current identity and fame, except for a few top circles, there were few people who were not willing to accept him. In the reserved private room, Chan Fei and Tian were already there. Sister-in-law. Seeing Chan Fei, Lu Xue's mouth seemed to be smeared with honey. You've become a lot more beautiful. She directly blamed Chan Fei. Chan Fei really doted on Lu Xue. It was not just the kind of love that extended to her, but the kind of love that came from the heart. She hugged Lu Xue and chatted intimately. She also took out a gift that she had already prepared for Lu Xue, a Cartier diamond bracelet. Lu Xue happily smiled and introduced her 3 friends to Chan Fei. Seeing Chan Fei, Wang Yan, Bai Fangfang, and Lin Yuyan were a lot more reserved. Because even Lin Yuyan, the most beautiful of the 3, was crushed by the heavenly queen of the music industry in all aspects. The only advantage she had was probably her youth. In terms of appearance, they couldn't even compare to Tian. Chan Fei didn't put on the airs of a big star. She was very easygoing and polite to Lu Xue's 3 friends. She smiled and talked freely, and soon the atmosphere in the private room became harmonious. Lu Chun was really happy. The room was full of pleasant fragrance. Lu Shui's 3 roommates at least had the appearance of an average person. It was not an exaggeration to say that all of them were young and beautiful. Although he had no other desire besides Chun Fei, he still felt a kind of intoxicated feeling. Chapter 638. The first season of The Voice of China premiered on Zhidong Satellite TV station on May 19. By the time colleges and universities across the country began their summer break, it had already aired 7 episodes in a row. This new form of reality singing talent show attracted a lot of attention from the beginning. The lineup of 4 big-name mentors was eye-catching, and the premiere episode's ratings did not disappoint either. The average rating was 2.26%, with the highest rating exceeding 2.50%, reaching the top of the domestic TV variety rankings in one fell swoop. However, what really shocked people was yet to come. In the following few episodes, The Voice of China simply swept the market. The ratings continued to rise, easily breaking through the phenomenal threshold and becoming the most eye-catching variety show in recent years. By the 7th episode on June 30th, the average viewership rating had reached an outrageous 6.35%, directly crushing the second-ranked talent show into dregs. While the industry colleagues were shocked, they also conducted in-depth research on The Voice of China. The Voice of China was undoubtedly very unique. In terms of format, it had many innovations compared to the previous programs of the same genre that quickly became routine. The most obvious was undoubtedly the 4 rotating chairs for mentors. The concept of the blind selection by the mentors was really amazing. First of all, it ensured the fairness of the selection. It did not look at the person or face, only listening to the voice. It was completely in line with the theme of the show. After The Voice of China became popular, there were many parody shows on the internet. Many netizens used their own or office chairs as props to imitate the blind selection of the mentors. The funny short videos were quite popular and had a high number of views. Then, the two-way selection of the mentors and contestants was another highlight. In previous shows, the judges chose the contestants, but the contestants of The Voice of China could choose their mentors. As long as more than one mentor turned their back during the blind selection, they would have the right to choose. When multiple mentors turned their backs, the mentors would even fight for the contestant. Big increased the interest of the show, adding more suspense to the selection, so the audience felt that it was particularly attractive. Later on, when the mentors' teams competed against each other, it would undoubtedly capture the audience's hearts. Other than these highlights, China's Voice also had quite a few minor details. For example, in the show, the singers were only allowed to sing Chinese songs. Foreign songs were not allowed to appear on stage. Although some singers who excelled in English songs expressed their dissatisfaction with this, they were unable to sway the producer's decision. Don't think that it was just a small rule, but it gave the audience a very good impression and recognition of China's Voice. That was because in past singing talent shows, there were many singers who liked to sing in English. However, many of the judges were especially fond of it, and the vast majority of the audience could not understand it. Thus, there was an invisible distance between them and Big. With a novel concept coupled with down-to-earth rules, outstanding contestants, and a strong team of mentors, The Voice of China's success was by no means a fluke. The extremely high viewership ratings of China's top voice had also brought great benefits to the show's producers and broadcasters. First of all, Star Factory Media was an unknown newcomer in the circle. Apart from the small circle in Hangzhou, no one knew about it. But now, the name and logo of Star Factory Media were transmitted to thousands of TV screens, along with China's top voice. The limelight was so strong that it embarrassed its peers, and the people seeking cooperation were almost breaking the threshold. China's top voice, produced by Star Factory Media, signed a VAM agreement with Zhidong Satellite TV. The money was calculated according to the ratings. The higher the ratings, the more money it could get, so the rising ratings brought Star Factory a rolling source of money. However, Zhidong Satellite TV was very happy to pay the money, because the ratings of the program were directly linked to advertising income. Although the price of the title sponsorship insertion, and other advertising contracts in the early stage were not very high, but if a new brand wanted to squeeze in, it would have to pay a lot of money. In addition, Zhidong Satellite TV also had the advertisement for the voice concert in their hands. Now the price tag had been raised to a staggering level, and there were many big brands seeking advertising cooperation for the next season. Therefore, no matter how much money was given to Star Factory Media, it was nothing compared to these advertising fees. In such a good situation, Zhidong Satellite TV is planning to hold an open tender for the advertising of the second season of China's Top Voice next year. According to the model of CCTV, Zhidong Satellite TV will definitely make a lot of money, but making money is one thing. On the other hand, Zhidong Satellite TV has made a great turnaround in variety shows and has greatly expanded its own influence. China's Top Voice is so popular that Shonan TV's Super Singer and Beijing Television's Singing China, which were originally scheduled to start in June, have been delayed, and the editions are expected to start at the end of July. Although the explanation given by the two satellite TV stations is organizational reasons, everyone knows that this is just an excuse. The real reason is that neither of them has any confidence to fight head-on with China's Top Voice. And in order to ensure the ratings, they have to avoid the sharp edge. Beijing Television is one thing, but Shonan TV, as the #1 overlord of the local satellite TV stations, has also chosen to avoid the battle. Even if it is a wise move, it still makes people feel very different. In addition to Star Factory Media and Zhidong Satellite TV, the four mentors have also gained a lot of popularity and attention through this program. Lu Chun and Chen Fei were already very popular. Shi Fang and Liao Jia have truly returned to the public's attention, and on the basis of their original deep foundation, they have reached a new height. As for the students, the singers who performed the best in the first 7 episodes have become popular. Their personal tieba has been quickly established, the number of followers has skyrocketed, and they have their own market value. The most typical example is On Xin, the originally unknown bar singer, who was offered a price of more than 100,000 yuan for a performance. Although it was only a temporary offer, it was enough to prove her popularity. This is the cluster effect brought about by a phenomenal program. Everyone is a winner, and the brand effect formed by China's Top Voice, in a short period of time will only bring more and more benefits. This well-known brand belongs to Star Factory Media, and Lu Chun and Chen Fei jointly hold a large amount of shares in Star Factory Media. Compared to Lu Chen's previous investment in Happy Entertainment, the return is not inferior at all. This undoubtedly once again put a new halo on Lu Chun. On July 2nd, Lu Chun drove from Hangzhou to his hometown in Binhai with Chen Fei and Lu Shui, who had just finished her summer vacation, plus a special guest. Chapter 639. The first season of China's Voice had a total of 14 episodes, with a grand concert to be held in Hangzhou at the end, making it 15 episodes in total. By the time Lu Chun left Hangzhou to return to his hometown, all 14 episodes of the show had already been recorded. This was also the usual practice for domestic talent shows. What the audience saw on television was not a live broadcast, but content that had been meticulously edited to achieve the best effect. In addition, there were also the judges and mentors. It was impossible for them to stay in the same place for 2 to 3 months, or to travel back and forth once a week for the recording. After recording 14 episodes, Liao Jia returned to Beijing. He would film 2 commercials in Beijing, and make a cameo appearance in a movie before flying to Australia for a vacation. He would return to Hangzhou in late August to participate in the Voice of China's concert. Lu Chun and Chen Fei stayed in Hangzhou for 2 more days. After Lu Shui's summer break ended, the 3 of them went to Binhai together. However, they brought another guest with them. That was Shi Fang. After spending more than a month together, Shi Fang and Chen Fei became very good friends, and did not treat Lu Chun as an outsider. Although in terms of status in the circle, Shi Fang's seniority is higher than Lu Chun and Chen Fei, but she interacts with the 2 of them on the same generation and calls them sisters and brother. Originally, after recording China's Voice, Shi Fang was going back to Xiangjiang. However, when she heard that Lu Chun was going back to his hometown, she was interested to see the scenery of Binhai and pay a visit to Lu Chen's mother. How could Lu Chun not welcome her? The 3 of them became 4, and a Mercedes-Benz was just right. Lu Shui was overjoyed. She was Shi Fang's fan, so she took the opportunity to get intimate with her idol. She took more than 10 photos with her phone. Hangzhou was not far from Binhai, and it only took 2 hours on the highway. The group set off at 2 p.m. and arrived at Binhai City around 4 p.m. Shifang curiously looked at the street view of Huhai through the window and said in surprise, "Your hometown is very prosperous." Although Binhai was a county-level city, because it was located on the southeast coast, and there were many businessmen and factories in Binhai, the local economy was very prosperous, and the urban construction was changing with each passing day. Although it could not be compared with a provincial capital city like Hangzhou, there were also tall buildings on both sides of the main road, which was very imposing. Lu Chun smiled and said, "It's not bad. It's been developing quite fast in the past few years. A lot of tall buildings have been built." Shifang sighed and said, "When I was in Xiangjiang, I often heard people say that except for Beijing, Shanghai and Shanhua, the other places in the mainland are very backward. Only after coming to the mainland this time did I know what is called seeing is believing." Shifang was a native of Xiangjiang. Her ancestors could be traced back to the immigrants who moved to Xiangjiang from Hunan and Hubei at the end of the Qing dynasty. The number of times she came to the mainland could be counted on one hand. In the past, she had only been to the capital and Huacheng. She had never been to the small cities below. For a long time, Xiangjiang's economy was more developed than the mainland. Many people in Xiangjiang, including the Xiangjiang media, always had a sense of superiority and regarded the mainland as a poor and backward area. Even if the mainland's economy was developing rapidly in recent years, the media rarely reported it. Therefore, many people in Xiangjiang who had never been to the mainland read some biased newspaper news and thought that the mainland was only developed in places like Beijing and Shanghai, and other places were still poor. Even Shifang was misled. The Mercedes-Benz drove through the main road, turned into another road, and soon arrived at Jingsheng district. In the Lu family's villa, Fang Yun had been waiting for a long time. Yesterday, Lu Chun had talked to her mother on the phone. Fang Yun already knew that Chun Fair and Shifang would come together. When she saw her son, daughter and future daughter-in-law getting out of the car, she couldn't help but show a happy smile on her face. "Mom!" Lu Shui ran up like a happy little rabbit, opened her arms and hugged Fang Yun. "We're back!" "You child?" Fang Yun patted her affectionately. "You're a college student but you still don't know how to behave. There were guests here." Lu Shui stuck out her tongue and quickly let go of Fang Yun. Lu Chun and Chun Fair went forward together. Chun Fair was already very familiar with Fang Yun. "Auntie." Then she solemnly introduced Shifang as a guest. Shifang said very politely, "Mrs. Lu, I'm Shifang. Sorry to bother you." Fang Yun held her hand with a smile and said, "Welcome. Miss Shi is really a distinguished guest. I can't wait to welcome you. You can treat this as your own home. Don't be polite." Shifang said with a smile, "Thank you." Lu Chun and others would stay in Binhai for 3 days. During these 3 days, Shifang lived in the Lu family's villa and left her assistant in Hangzhou. She came here as a friend. After a pause, she sincerely praised, "Mrs. Lu, you are young and beautiful. I have to ask you for the secret of skincare." Fang Yun was a famous beauty when she was young. Otherwise, she would not have given birth to such a good breed, like the 3 siblings of the Lu family. She was born with good skin and did not look old in her 40s. However, in the few years after Lu Qingxing's death, in order to pay off the debts of the family, Fang Yun lived very hard and became a lot haggard day and night. But in the past 2 years, her complexion not only recovered to its original appearance, but also became even better. When she stood together with Chun Fair, people would believe that she was a sister. No wonder Shifang was surprised. Fang Yun smiled. "Miss Shi is really young and beautiful. Let's go inside and talk." In the evening, Fang Yun cooked in person and used all her strength to make a table of delicious food for the guests who came from afar, which made Shifang eat full of praise. People like her, who usually paid great attention to diet, ate until they were 80 or 90% full. The dinner was joyous and harmonious. After dinner, Chun Fair and Lu Shui scrambled to wash the dishes. In the end, Lu Shui won. Chun Fair had to take Shifang to have tea and chat with her. Lu Chun also had something to say to his mother. "Mom, I bought a big house in Hangzhou. Now Lu Shui is also studying in Hangzhou. Why don't you also move to Hangzhou so that you won't be lonely here?" Fang Yun shook her head with a smile and said, "I haven't retired yet. Why should I go to Hangzhou? Besides, although you are not here, I am not lonely. I have no relatives or friends in Hangzhou. Don't worry about me. I am very good now." If you really care about your mother, then marry Fair as soon as possible and have a child for me to take care of so that I won't be lonely. What his mother said was so reasonable that Lu Chun was speechless. In fact, no matter how successful he was outside and how much money he made, the most nostalgic thing in his heart was still the days when his family was together and lived happily together. Chapter 640. Originally, Lu Chun planned to stay in Binhai for 3 days and take Shifeng to enjoy the local scenery of Binhai. Although Binhai was only a small county-level city, due to its proximity to the sea and mountains, the scenery was quite good. There was a 4A tourist attraction with famous landscapes such as Foshan Fog, Millennium Grotto, Dawn of the East Sea, etc. There were also fishing villages, ancient towns, small rivers, and other cultural attractions. It was not a problem to play for 3 days. However, plans could not keep up with changes. On the second day in Binhai, Lu Chun took Chen Fair and Shifeng to Foshan's ancient Buddha temple to play. In the end, they were recognized by worshippers and were surrounded, almost unable to escape. Now that everyone had a mobile phone, all of them had access to the 4G network. The photos taken on the spot could be instantly sent to the network, so everyone soon knew that 3 big stars had come to Binhai City. Since the broadcast of Autumn in My Heart, the year before last, Lu Chun had become a well-known star in Binhai City. Many citizens could not say the mayor's name, but they all knew that Lu Chun was a true Binhai citizen. Although Binhai City's history could be traced back to the Song and Yuan dynasties, there were not many local cultural celebrities. A star like Lu Chun was definitely the first, so it was natural that he received a lot of attention. Even in the government, Lu Chun has been recommended as a local cultural business card. Therefore, even if it was just Lu Chun being photographed at the ancient Buddha temple, it would definitely be enough to blow up the local Feishin's WeChat moments. Now with the addition of the 2 big stars, Chen Fair and Shifeng, the sensational effect was definitely not as simple as 1 + 1 + 1 is equal to 3. Especially now that China's Voice was extremely popular, the 4 mentors were in the limelight, and 3 of them appeared in Binhai at the same time. The impact was imaginable. Therefore, the expected situation happened. The local media swarmed over, and the city's TV stations sent people over for interviews, so much so that the municipal government was alerted. As a result, the next day, the mayor of Binhai City personally invited Lu Chun, Chen Fair, and Shifeng to a banquet at the Binhai International Hotel, accompanied by many government officials and local celebrities in the art circle. Of course, the mayor was not just looking for an excuse to treat them to dinner or to meet the big stars. Binhai City was preparing to increase its investment in culture in the next few years and build its own cultural brand. It was planning to launch its first cultural festival. As the biggest star from Binhai, Lu Chun was certainly listed at the top of the list of invited guests. This time, Lu Chun brought Chen Fair and Shifeng to Binhai, which was an unexpected surprise for Binhai City. If the 3 of them could be invited, it would be hard for the cultural festival to fail. As for Lu Chun, it was impossible for him not to give face to the mayor. It was reasonable for him to support the local cultural festival, so he naturally agreed. Of course, he could only represent himself. Chen Fair and Shifeng still had to discuss with the cultural festival's organizing committee and their managers, as it involved the appearance fee and schedule. However, with Lu Chun's relationship, Chen Fair and Shifeng expressed that they would seriously consider it, so the host and guests were happy. However, after the banquet, Lu Chun had to run away with the 2 heavenly queens, as many fans had rushed over from other places, and his home in Jingxing district had been exposed online. If he continued to stay there, it would probably be difficult to go out, let alone have fun. Just the security issue alone would be very troublesome, and he would not have a good time. Chen Fair and Shifeng understood that as a famous public figure, it was difficult to enjoy the life of an ordinary person. Therefore, on the afternoon of July 4th, the group returned to Hangzhou. Shifeng met up with her assistant in Hangzhou and flew back to Xiangjiang that night, returning to the concert at the end of August. As for Lu Chun and Chen Fair, they flew back to Beijing on the 5th. Except for the last concert, the recording of the first season of China's Voice was completed. Lu Chun put the focus of his work on the upcoming filming of You from the Star. You from the Star was undoubtedly the first self-produced drama project after the official establishment of Chunfei Media, and this new drama had attracted the attention of all walks of life from the beginning. which was also what fans and audiences had been looking forward to for a long time. The two TV series Autumn in My Heart and Full House of Romance had achieved great success, making the couple idol duo of Lu Chan and Chan Fei a diamond on the TV screen. No one doubted the success of You from the Star. Precisely because of this, there were simply too many people who wanted to participate in the shooting of the new drama and get a piece of the pie. Many film and television entertainment agencies in Beijing, as well as artists in the circle, racked their brains to borrow favors and relationships to come to Chan Fei Media, which made Chan Fei Media suffer a lot of harassment. Lu Xi's phone calls never stopped all day long. At present, the confirmed partners include Beijing Television, Zhidong Satellite TV, South Korea's KGS TV SPG, Crown Pictures. The TV series has not yet started shooting, and there are many big companies who have taken the initiative to come to talk about brand cooperation, such as Zhonghua Automobile, Wuxia Electronics, Pepsi, China Bank, and other Fortune 500 companies, which are willing to pay for product placement. Even if Lu Chan requests to control product placement, the agreements or signed contracts that have been reached can bring hundreds of millions of income to Chan Fei Media, which is enough to offset the cost of shooting and production. But Lu Chan did not get carried away by this. For the TV series You from the Star, Lu Chan spent far more time polishing the script than Autumn in My Heart and Full of Romance. The original script has been revised many times. This time was squeezed out bit by bit from his daily life. He deliberated every word and sentence by himself and did not ask others to do it. Although the main plot, character settings, and story outline of the script came from the memory of the dream world, Lu Chan did not adopt a direct method to save time and effort, but carefully carved on the basis of the original work. The original work was indeed very popular in the dream world, but in terms of setting and plot, there were also a lot of places that were criticized by people. For example, bugs were flying everywhere, and the later plot was seriously dragged, which all relied on the sweet abuse of the lead actor to drag, and the repeated toss made people feel dull. There was a reason for this situation. The original work was filmed and broadcasted at the same time, so it was inevitable that there would be bugs. The producers obviously did not expect this drama to be so popular. The scriptwriter scratched his head but could not think of a better plot, so he could only repeatedly struggle with the plot of a romantic relationship. These problems were not what Lu Chan wanted to see. The You from the Star he wanted to make should surpass the original work in all aspects, including character settings, story plots, and special effects. Chapter 641. Capital City New Era Art Park, Chan Fei Media Headquarters. The renovated building looked like it had just been built against the backdrop of the surrounding green trees and small lake, exuding a modern vibe. A large custom-made logo made of high-grade aluminum alloy and the words Chan Fei Media were inlaid on the greenish-gray wall, shining brightly under the sun. Chan Fei Media's logo was designed by a famous designer in Capital City. It was a clever combination of the initials C and F, making it look smart and elegant. With the release of A Chinese Ghost Story across the country and the popularity of China's Voice, this logo was becoming more and more familiar to the audience. The lower level of Chan Fei Media's headquarters, which used to be the exhibition hall of Yu Jizhong's studio, had now been transformed into a large indoor studio and special effects studio. Chan Fei Media's special effects studio was undoubtedly a very special existence. This special effects studio was named DreamWorks. Although it had only been established for a short period of time, it was big in terms of staff and investment, surpassing the other departments in the company. Excluding the expensive high-tech studio, DreamWorks' high-end professional computer equipment alone cost $15 million, and that did not include other special effects production equipment. The budget Lu Chan prepared for DreamWorks' investment was $100 million, but for a special effects studio that was like a gold-swallowing monster, it would not take long. The production of special effects for movies and TV series had always been a project that required a lot of investment and output. Ordinary film companies could not afford it. In China, even large film companies would outsource the production of special effects to professional companies, including famous studios in Japan, Korea, and even America's Hollywood. It was rare for a company like Chan Fei Media to have its own special effects team, and many people in the industry did not think much of it. Special effects production was too expensive, and building a studio was even more expensive. Not to mention the investment of equipment, the allocation and training of personnel were a big problem. The real top talents were basically concentrated in developed countries, and the second and third-rate special effects engineers in China, including Xiangjiang, were useless. Those who graduated from college lacked experience. All these factors added up would definitely become a big burden for the company. Many people did not understand why Lu Chun would set up his own special effects studio. From a business point of view, it was too risky, and they thought that Lu Chun was overconfident and arrogant. However, there was a reason why Lu Chun founded the Dream Workshop. First of all, this special effects team was to serve his big IP plan. In the future, the deep development of the big IP of Wuxia would involve a lot of special effects production, whether it was a movie or a TV series. It was not the best choice to outsource this very important part to other companies. First of all, Wuxia was a very localized thing. The special effects teams in Europe, America, Japan, and South Korea would create the corresponding content. They lacked the foundation of understanding on a cultural level. It would definitely take a lot of time and energy to get used to it, and the cost would definitely be high. On the other hand, although the local special effects studios and special effects production companies were developing rapidly, they were far behind the foreign countries in terms of technical accumulation and experience. They could only use the strategy of low prices to maintain their survival. In turn, the local film and television companies tried to lower their prices. You get what you pay for, and the vicious cycle of competition between low prices and low quality led to a large number of so-called 50-cent special effects on the screen, which were ridiculed and criticized by the audience. Therefore, those domestic blockbusters that easily invested hundreds of millions would definitely choose American Hollywood teams to produce the special effects. However, the final product would always be a step or two lower than the real American blockbusters. Other than the lack of investment, the other reason was that the other party had the right to speak. The reason why Lu Chun established the Dream Workshop was because he did not want others to take advantage of his weakness. It might be a difficult path to tread. The initial investment was huge, but there was not much of a return. However, he was willing to lead the team and work hard to carve out a place of their own. Because only Lu Chun himself knew what kind of special effects he wanted. In the room next to the recording studio, the air conditioner was full. Dozens of computer equipment were running, and the entire wall was occupied by big and small LCD screens. In front of it was a long work console. The main 75-inch screen showed the image of a vast starry sky. A very sci-fi spaceship was slowly moving through the vacuum, its tail spewing blue flames. Although it was silent, it still gave people a very shocking feeling. And the destination of the spaceship was the azure blue Earth. Very good. Lu Chun nodded with satisfaction and said to the middle-aged man standing beside him, "Thank you for your hard work." This middle-aged man was the special effects engineer that Lu Chun poached from Xiangjiang. His name was Richard. He graduated from the University of Southern California, USC, in the United States in his early years, and his major was post-production special effects. USC was located in downtown Los Angeles, California. It was founded by the Board of Supervisors in 1880. It was the oldest private university in California and the West Coast of the United States. It was also one of the world's leading private comprehensive academic research schools. Its film program had the best reputation in the industry. It was really easy for USC film graduates to find a job in Hollywood, and Richard was no exception. He had worked in many special effects studios. 5 years ago, due to personal reasons, he returned to his hometown, Xiangjiang, and became the chief special effects engineer in a special effects company in Xiangjiang. Richard had also participated in the special effects production of many domestic and foreign blockbusters, and his experience could be said to be incomparably rich. The reason that Lu Chun was able to poach this powerful person, in addition to offering him the highest level of salary in the industry, was that he happened to have a serious disagreement with the company's senior management at that time. It was also thanks to Chen Wenqiang, the director of Xiangjiang Studio, who was well informed enough to contact Richard as soon as he found out the inside story, that they were able to poach him successfully. Richard's personality was more stubborn, and he had the temperament of an artist. He was willing to come to Beijing to manage the DreamWorks team, in addition to the various conditions promised by Chinfei Media, and also because he admired Lu Chun himself. The details are not good enough. In response to Lu Chun's praise, Richard shook his head with a serious expression and said, There are also some problems with the rendering and color scheme. They still have too little experience, so there are more problems. Richard had strict requirements for the projects he handled. This habit was brought over from Hollywood, but it was not suitable in Xinjiang. This was because the higher the requirements, the higher the cost. This was also the reason why he had a disagreement with the company's senior management.